All right, what's going on, everybody? Good morning. Uh, Devin Haney, new undisputed lightweight champion of the world. Um, you know, originally when the fight was announced, Devin Haney was a 3-1 favorite, but as time went on, this fight became closer and closer in the odds. A lot of people who originally picked Devin Haney, as time went on, they some of them switched their pick to George Cambosos. But at the end of the day, for me, what this all came down to was skills pay the bills. And yeah, George Cambosos had a great victory over Teofimo Lopez last November. But as I said, I really couldn't get those other fights out of my head. The fight that he had with Lee Selby, who arguably we could say that Lee Selby won that fight, and George Cambosos eked it out by split decision. And the other fight with a past his prime Mickey Bay, or Mickey Bay was giving him a lot of problems with movement and boxing ability. So you had to ask yourself, was that the real George Cambosos, or was it the George Cambosos who was in the right place at the right time against, you know, a less than stellar Teofimo Lopez? We don't want to make it about Teofimo Lopez. We don't want to make it about taking anything away from George Cambosos, but I just have to be honest. That's what I was thinking in my head. I just think that he was in the right place at the right time, and he was the low hanging fruit. Once he became undisputed, everybody started calling him out. Everybody wanted to take a shot at him because they knew that there was some vulnerabilities there. I mean, he wasn't. I just think there were a lot of holes in the guy's game, right? Um, I thought that he loaded up with shots, and I thought he really tried to oversell the right hand in a lot of his fights. I didn't think he was the most athletically gifted guy compared to some of these other lightweights. I just didn't think there was anything dynamic about him. But again, I don't want to go on and try to diminish him. I think now Devin Haney has finally legitimized himself. He can no longer be called the email champion. He achieved his goal. He went into George Cambosos' backyard. He proved all the naysayers wrong. And this was not an easy fight on paper. Like I said, it boiled down to a 50-50 fight. Once the fight and the first bell rang, it was at that particular time it came down to being a 50-50 fight, right? So we have to give Devin Haney full credit for this fight. I don't think this fight was remotely close. I gave George Cambosos one round. You could argue maybe he won the second round, which was a swing round, I thought. But the 118 to 110 was the most accurate scorecard, 116 to 112. Again, to each his own, but I just don't think this fight was remotely close. H, you called this a long time ago, brother. You were the basically the prophet when it came to Devin Haney. You've been tooting Devin Haney's horn for a long time now. What did you think of the fight last night? And were you surprised at all at how one-sided it was in Devin Haney's favor, brother?
Yeah, hey man, shout out to the ringside reporter. First of all, shout out to my boy Joe Habib, man. This is a great channel. And when I first came to YouTube talking boxing, I believe this was the first channel, one of the first channels that I called in on. And I appreciate it, man. You guys always gave me an opportunity to talk about boxing. And Devin Haney was the guy that I always talked about. And I'm so proud of Devin Haney right now. He just dominated George Cambosos. I thought he won almost every round pretty much. And according to the unofficial scorecards, they had Devin Haney winning every round in this fight. Dominated an undefeated champion like George Kambosos in his backyard at only 23 years old to make history and become the youngest undisputed champion in the history of boxing. This is amazing. Devin Haney is a great fighter. He's pound for pound one of the best. I think Devin Haney should be in the top 5 pound for pound. I got him number 3,
Wow.
right behind Alexander Usyk. He deserved it. He beat the number 1 guy in his weight class. He's the number 1 fighter in the lightweight division by far, Beeb.
I got you. So now we move forward here, and we have to figure out what Devin Haney's going to do next. I don't want to see a rematch. I think these rematch clauses are getting out of control. Everyone and their brother gets rematch clauses in fights, regardless if the fights are close or not. Now that George Kambosos realizes that he thought that Devin Haney was a young guy, just like Teofimo Lopez. He thought that he could get in his head, he could disrupt him, he could make him fight outside of himself. He thought the head games would work, and to me, the head games actually backfired because Devin Haney exposed George Kambosos. I think a lot of these things George Kambosos was saying, Devin Haney kind of let him know, man. Like, for instance, if you're gonna if this is the art of war and this is deception, then why would you let the cat out the bag and say it's deception? Why would you let the cat out the bag and say this is the art of war and these are deceptive tactics? And then you call Devin Haney a rat, but then you ratting on Devin Haney for ratting Teofimo Lopez out. So which one is it, man? Like, George Kambosos was all over the place here. I think he was out of pocket a lot. He was trying to be out of character here, and he was trying to play the WWE heel role, and it just didn't work. So, I mean, does this rematch even make sense? And what is he going to do next? I mean, he already proved that he can't ruffle this guy, Devin Haney's feathers. Devin Haney already proved that he can go over in your backyard and basically pitch a virtual shutout. I just don't see why this rematch even makes sense. What are your thoughts on that? What would you like to see happen next? And are you excited at all for this rematch?
I mean, the fight was one-sided. Devin Haney, he proved he was the better fighter. Now, George Kambosos, he has a rematch clause, if I'm not mistaken. After the fight, Bob Arum, the greatest promoter in the history of boxing, legendary Hall of Fame promoter Bob Arum, he said, the rematch doesn't make any sense. And he said Eddie Hearn is the only guy that puts a rematch clause for every fight. And he said it's bad for boxing. So there's a lot of big fights for Devin Haney out there. A big fight with Tank Davis. I think that might be the biggest fight for Devin Haney. Tank Davis is a superstar boxer. We just saw him last week against Rolly. He knocked out Rolando Rolly Romero. Devin Haney and Tank Davis is a huge fight, but I know he signed to Mayweather and he's with the PBC. So I don't know how that. And Devin Haney is with Bob Arum in Top Rank. A fight with Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson. If Shakur Stevenson decides to move up to 135, is a huge fight. They're both with Top Rank. A fight with Teofimo Lopez at 140. A fight with Ryan Garcia and even Lomachenko. Those are huge fights for Devin Haney.
So, speaking of guys like Tank Davis, and we can throw Ryan Garcia in the mix as well, we look at these guys who are kind of still fighting with the training wheels on. They're not fighting the top guys, it seems. They're not fighting the fights that fans want them to be in. And it looks like Tank Davis may re-sign with Mayweather Promotions, and we already heard what Mayweather Promotions said. We're not looking to make another promoter rich, but again, it's about making the fighter rich, putting the fighter in the best position to advance his career and make the most money. Now, of course, Tank Davis is making pretty good money over there at Mayweather Promotions. He's not fighting the best, so he's being rewarded for not fighting the best. So what motivation is there for him to fight the best if he doesn't have to get paid? But did Devin Haney kind of lead the way here and show by example, what it's like to take chances and gambling on yourself? And he proved that, you could come out on top. You could be the man if you take a chance. Will this motivate other guys in this lightweight division to take chances? Because just like the welterweight division at the time, I think about maybe 1 or 2 years ago, no one was fighting each other. And now the division's starting to shape up a little bit. We're starting to see some of these matchups now, and we're closer to this Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford fight than we ever were before. Now that Devin Haney at 23 years old kind of led the way and showed by example you can bet on yourself, and you should take chances, and it's okay to give up a little bit, because now he's on top of the world. Now he's in a power position in the lightweight division. Do you think this will put the other guys like Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia on notice? I mean, what do you think is going to happen with those two guys? You think eventually we'll see those two guys mix it up in December?
I hope so, Beeb. I would like to see Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia in some big fights. I heard Ryan Garcia got a fight coming up with Javier Fortuna. So Tank Davis.
He's having a little bit of issues with his internet, man. Hopefully he can sort that out.
Okay, my bad, Beeb.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Okay, so Tank Davis, he's a free agent, but he said he was going to, I believe he said he's going to stay with Mayweather Promotions. He said, I'm still Mayweather Promotions, but that's a huge fight for Devin Haney. We know Devin Haney, he only got a 3-fight deal with Top Rank. He just fought Cambosos. He does have a rematch with Cambosos and maybe a fight, another fight. But think about this. After those 3 fights, Devin Haney will become a free agent again. He's known for, fighting on different networks. He's been on DAZN. He fought on Showtime. Can you see Devin Haney possibly, working with PBC to get this fight with Tank Davis, do what Terrence Crawford is doing?
So moving forward, after he finishes this deal with Top Rank, do you think he stays a free agent and just is like a fight by fight, or do you think he'll go back on DAZN? Do you think that there's going to be some loyalty shown towards Eddie Hearn, because Eddie Hearn did put Devin Haney in the position to make a lot of money over at DAZN. He was getting paid very well over there, just like Tank Davis was, and he wasn't fighting the top names. It wasn't his fault. He was fighting the Jojo Diaz fight. I thought was a solid fight, but other than that, I don't think there was any real big. There was some big names, but they fought them at the right time, like the Gamboa fight and the Linares fight. Those are solid names, but those guys weren't really dangerous, I think, at the time that Haney fought them. But he did get the Jojo fight. Do you think that Devin Haney will stay a free agent, or do you think he'll may sign like a 2 or 3 fight deal with PBC, or he may sign a 2 or 3 fight deal with Eddie Hearn over at Matchroom? Or do you think you should just continue to go fight by fight? Because it seems like this formula is working. Now, in order to get this fight, he had to sign that 3-fight deal, or he wouldn't have got that fight. But do you think moving forward, guys will try to lock, promoters and promotional companies will try to lock Devin Haney into 2 3-fight deals, or do you think he continue to go fight by fight here? I guess his mic is a little jacked up again. But yeah.
So Beeb, I'm sorry, Beeb. So Devin Haney, his stock has went up. After beating George Kambosos, like you said, he's on top of the world. So Devin Haney, after this contract is up with Top Rank, ESPN, he's going to be worth a lot of money. You can see Eddie Hearn giving him a lot of money. Eddie Hearn, you right about that. Eddie Hearn is the one that believed in Devin Haney, took a chance on this guy, and helped build him up. So there is some loyalty towards Eddie Hearn, and I can see Devin Haney, bro. I mean, a long-term deal that's a possibility, but he was a free agent at the right time, like you said, to get this George Kambosos fight. So it's so many options for Devin Haney. It's like these guys are willing to work with anybody. They took a chance and signed with DAZN when the DAZN was new. So they have a good relationship, I believe, with DAZN, but working with ESPN, Beeb, is huge. Fighting on that network, this fight was huge. I guarantee you over millions of views on this fight. Being on the ESPN platform, Beeb, is the best, I think.
I think, too, in terms of having more eyes on you, I think that is definitely, the best option in terms of getting the exposure and staying mainstream. Because this fight was not only on regular ESPN, it was also on the app. So a lot of people had the opportunity to watch this fight. And, Devin Haney has kind of made the rounds in the media. He was on the Sway podcast He sat down, I think, with Brian Custer as well. So, if he continues to market himself and continues to have like a lot of eyes on him, I think Devin Haney could cross over. I think he could go mainstream. And a lot of the Devin Haney detractors, they'll continue to try to say that he's not the most exciting fighter in the world. But when you go back and you watch that fight, and people can say, oh, well, all he was doing was landing jabs. But again, I had a great interview with Steve Weisfeld, and he said at the end of the day, it's about clean, effective punching. And he goes, regardless if it's a jab or if it's a right hand, if it's a hard shot, if it's a clean, effective shot, because the jab last night was snapping George Kambosos' head back. It was being thrown almost with the same sharpness and effectiveness and power as a right hand. I mean, it was really busting up George Kambosos' face. It was really jarring his head back. It was really buzzing him and freezing him in his tracks. So I don't think you can just dismiss what Devin Haney did by just saying, oh, all he was doing was throwing jabs. Well, that's all he really had to do, because that jab was really freezing Kambosos in his tracks. It was really shown to be effective last night. And I mean, he didn't really have to pull too much more out of the bag. I mean, he was landing right hand every now and then. He was landing counter left hooks, but all George Kambosos seemed to be doing was trying to land that big right hand over the top. He was trying to time that right hand over the jab of Devin Haney, but he just couldn't do it. I mean, Devin Haney fought a smart, disciplined fight, whereas Teofimo last year was very reckless. And this Devin Haney is that disciplined, poised, relaxed guy. And you're never going to force him to fight outside of himself. You're never going to force him to fight off of emotion like you can do with Teofimo Lopez. So going back to what I said, if these mind games don't work on Devin Haney, and Devin Haney just has the tactics right, and I just think these guys can fight 1,000 times, and there's just no way George Kambosos can win. What were your thoughts on the game plan last night from Devin Haney, and also comment on him when you hear these detractors of Devin Haney say that he's not exciting, because he doesn't win the way they want him to win?
The game plan was amazing, Beeb. I mean, I gotta tip my hat off to Bill Haney. I think Bill Haney proved himself as a trainer. And no doubt about it, so did Devin Haney as a fighter. Bill Haney is one of the best trainers in boxing. I got Bill Haney right now as the trainer of the year. Devin Haney just dominated George Kambosos for 12 rounds. Easy work. And the game plan was perfect. The jab. Devin Haney using his size advantage against Kambosos, being the dog in the ring, being the bully, using Tyson Fury tactics on the inside by, mauling George Kambosos. It was a great game plan. And I even talked to Bill Haney a couple days before the fight about that, and he executed the game plan. I'm impressed. I'm definitely impressed by the game plan by Bill Haney. Great job. And he came, I think like a couple hours before the fight. That was amazing, bro. Like, man, this was a great fight, bro. The story, Beeb, this was the biggest fight in the history of the lightweight division, brother. The biggest fight, over 50,000 people in Australia. It was on pay-per-view. In America, it's on ESPN. I mean, the magnitude, the first 4-belt undisputed lightweight champion. The first time it's ever been done before, bro. It was a great day for boxing, brother.
So what do you think of this Inoue-Donaire fight that's coming up with Naoya Inoue? I want to switch gears a little bit. And this is another big fight that's coming up on Tuesday. It's going to be on ESPN Plus. I know you had Inoue-Donaire in your chat. You had Rachel Donaire in your chat. And you seem to be giving Inoue-Donaire a good chance against Inoue, and you think that he could possibly score the upset. I want to get your opinion on that fight real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout outs to Inoue-Donaire, man. He's a great champion. And Inoue is a monster, no doubt about it. I feel like Inoue-Donaire, in that first fight with Inoue, he had success in that fight. And I feel like, with a few adjustments, Inoue-Donaire, he can be successful. The first fight, it was a war. It was a fight of the year candidate. And I feel like the power of Inoue-Donaire, along with the jab, it can give Inoue problems. A lot of people, they are picking Inoue. He's definitely the favorite. Inoue-Donaire he's almost 40 years old. I believe he is 40. So, Nonito has been the underdog plenty of times. He was the underdog against Vic Darchinyan. He was the underdog against Fernando Montiel and Jorge Arce. So he's been shocking the world his whole career, bro. And I'm gonna go with Nonito, man. I'm gonna go with Nonito. I feel like Nonito, his body punching will be a key in this fight. He must go to the body and touch Inoue and let him know who's the boss in that ring, bro. But the odds are against him. A lot of people are picking Monster in this fight.
This is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the second undisputed fight that we've had this year. And it seems as though we may have a third undisputed fight if Crawford and Spence can get it on. Do you think that moving forward now, fighters are going to be more inclined to take these undisputed fights? Because before these fights were really hard to make. Before the biggest claim to fame was these guys jumping up and down in weight and winning titles in multiple weight classes. But now it seems like another accomplishment that these fighters are looking for to put themselves in the history book is becoming an undisputed champion in the 4-belt era. Because now, it seems like we're going to see more and more of these, and it seems like more and more fighters are willing to do that. Do you think this is going to be the new trend moving forward? Do you think that we will start seeing more undisputed fights now? Because again, with the undisputed title comes the accolades, comes the recognition, right? And once you get all the belts, all roads lead to you. And obviously, you got to pay more sanctioning fees. But once again, it also sets up the path for you to have more big fights on your resume. So, do you see this as a trend now? Do you think once again Devin Haney has kind of set the example, and do you think that more and more fighters will get it on and try to become undisputed champions moving forward in the sport of boxing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Canelo, when he beat Caleb Plant and became an undisputed champion, that got a lot to do with it as well, because Canelo was the face of boxing. Everybody wants to be an undisputed champion now. Like, undisputed is the new thing in boxing. So Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford, that's a big fight. Another undisputed fight. Heavyweight division, I want to see it in every weight class, bro. One face, one champion, one name. And I think it's great for boxing, brother.
I got you. So, speaking of undisputed, what are your thoughts on Tyson Fury? Do you believe he's going to continue to fight on, or do you think he wants to wait for the winner of this Joshua Usyk fight? Seems like he's not really interested in fighting Usyk. He's kind of really put cold water on that fight every time it's been mentioned to him. But it seems like he's rooting for Joshua to win that fight, and that's the fight that he wants for undisputed. What do you think happens in that second fight with Joshua Usyk? And what do you think Tyson Fury does if Usyk were to win that rematch? Do you think that we'll get an undisputed fight at heavyweight?
I think we should get an undisputed fight at heavyweight. But a guy like Tyson Fury, man, you never know what to expect with Tyson Fury. I believe he's the best heavyweight in boxing. I think, Tyson Fury is not, I don't think he's focused on boxing right now. Last time I seen Tyson Fury, he was drunk, acting a fool again. So, I'm not sure if his heart is in the sport right now. And as far as the rematch with Usyk and Anthony Joshua, man, I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's the biggest fight that we got left on the calendar. And man, I like Anthony Joshua working with Robert Garcia. I really do like it. I feel like Anthony Joshua must be aggressive and put the pressure on Usyk. And I feel like Robert Garcia is one of the best trainers in boxing, and he does specialize with that Mexican style. Being a dog in the ring. And I think Joshua can do better in the rematch working with Robert Garcia. I think he can make some adjustments, but I will favor Usyk in that fight. I feel like Usyk has the better skills. Usyk is a better boxer, and Usyk he's arguably the best fighter in the world right now. I'm going to go with Alexander Usyk, and I would love to see Tyson Fury fight the winner. It doesn't matter who the winner is. But if Joshua wins that rematch, I would like to see a third fight. I need to see a third fight in that one.
So you don't mind seeing a trilogy in that fight?
No, I don't.
And another fight that we got coming up this month in a couple weeks is the Arthur Beterbiev Joe Smith Jr. fight. I think Joe Smith Jr. has a real shot against Arthur Beterbiev. I think the styles match up pretty well against each other. I think because Beterbiev isn't going to be that mover, he's going to be right there to exchange with Joe Smith. I think Joe Smith's going to have some opportunities. I think with his volume, his pressure, and just his overall punch output and just how strong he is on the inside, I think Joe Smith's got a real shot at the upset. What are your thoughts on that fight, and who you picking in that fight?
That's a great fight right there. Joe Smith Jr., WBO light heavyweight champion. He's a huge puncher, one of the biggest punchers in boxing. And Arthur Beterbiev, who's another huge puncher. Every fight has been a knockout for this guy. He's a unified light heavyweight champion. I think he's the best light heavyweight in the sport. He's a monster. Joe Smith, I feel like Joe Smith got the power, but he's lacking in skills. Beterbiev, I've seen him get dropped before. And Joe Smith, he struggles with boxers, guys that can box and move, like Bivol. Bivol was able to, outbox Joe Smith and beat him easy, but Beterbiev has a different style. Beterbiev will stand right in front of Joe Smith, will give Joe Smith, like you said, a chance to win that fight and get an upset. So I think it's going to be, a competitive fight, but I'm going to go with Beterbiev. I think Beterbiev is pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. He got the better skills because he can box. He has a very good jab, and I think he got the better tools to get the victory. So I got Beterbiev with a stoppage. I'm gonna go Beterbiev maybe round number 7.
Okay. And another fight that we got, but this is a little ways off, fresh off of Canelo's loss to Dmitry Bivol, the guy you just mentioned, is Canelo versus Triple G. Are you excited at all about this fight? Would you have liked to have seen Canelo go right back into the rematch with Bivol? And if he does beat Triple G, do you ever see him stepping foot in a ring with Dmitry Bivol ever again? Do you think we'll ever see Canelo at 175 again after hearing all these excuses about how he's not a real 175 pounder? But we weren't, people weren't saying those things before the fight. Everyone was picking him to win. But now all of a sudden, he's not a true 175 pounder. What are your thoughts on this Golovkin fight with Canelo Alvarez? And do you think he avoids Dmitry Bivol like the plague? Do you think we'll see a John Ryder fight after this Golovkin fight if he were to beat Golovkin? And do you think Golovkin will get knocked out like a lot of people are saying based off of what you saw against Bivol? Do you think Canelo can knock out Golovkin?
Yeah, man, I'm disappointed in Canelo Alvarez, man. He's supposed to be the face of boxing. He's supposed to be the number one pound for pound, and he got dominated by Bivol. And of course, he got a rematch clause, but he doesn't want revenge. I mean, I'm definitely mad that he didn't take that rematch. I thought Canelo could do better in the rematch if he would have came in better shape and if he could, throw more punches. So I'm disappointed, bro. Like, come on, bro, you got a rematch clause. That's exactly what Anthony Joshua is doing. Deontay Wilder, he wanted his rematch so bad, he had to go to court and go to arbitration, So, I mean, I seen Sugar Ray Leonard take a rematch immediately after he got beat by Roberto Duran. That's what the great fighters did. So for Canelo to not exercise that rematch clause, he put the rematch clause in the contract. So he should have took the rematch with Bivol. I felt like the rematch was going to be bigger. It would have been one of the biggest fights in boxing. But instead, he wants to go fight Triple G, who at 168 pounds. Triple G is not a mandatory at 168. We all know that David Benavidez is the mandatory for Canelo at 168. So if you was going to fight at 168, go defend your titles against, the number one contenders like a true champion instead of moving up Triple G to 168. Triple G has never fought at 168. Triple G doesn't deserve a Canelo fight. He doesn't deserve it, bro. So I'm disappointed in Canelo Alvarez, man. Seriously, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you got David Benavidez waiting in the wings. And I got to ask you another question. When have you ever seen a fighter have a rematch clause and not exercise it coming off of a loss? People like to point that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, after their first fight, they didn't go right into a rematch. But once again, the fight was a draw. So there was no winner or no loser. So no one could really enforce the rematch clause in that fight. Right? So when they did fight that second time, it was a one-sided fight. A lot of people didn't want the rematch, but we got it, and it turned out to be a good fight. But in the history of the sport of boxing, anytime there has been a rematch clause, for the most part, people have exercised it. And for Canelo Alvarez not to exercise that rematch clause, it kind of shows and indicates that they don't believe he can win that rematch. They don't. And you have Eddie Hearn saying things like, "Oh, well, 2 losses in a row would be, catastrophic to Canelo's career." So they're not too keen on Canelo's chances against Bivol in the rematch. So I think they're going to find a way to circumvent Dimitri Bivol altogether. But do you agree that it's a bad look for Canelo to not go right back at Bivol after having that rematch clause, and then at the end of the day choosing not to enforce it? Because again, show me other times where a guy had that rematch clause and didn't enforce it. Even George Cambosos just lost one-sided against Devin Haney. He's not talking about taking a tune-up comeback fight. He wants to jump right back up on the horse and go right at it. So is this a bad look for Canelo?
Of course, Beeb. Of course. His fans were asking for the rematch. They wanted Canelo to run it back, like you said. But I don't see Canelo beating Bivol, to be honest with you. Bivol is a master boxer. He got great skills. He got a great chin. He's been in there with top guys like Joe Smith, big punchers. Canelo can knock this guy out. There's nothing that Canelo can do to beat this guy, but I feel like Canelo, he could have did better in the rematch, Beeb. I feel like if Canelo would throw more punches, and if Canelo would have more stamina, have more energy, he can do better. But obviously, Canelo, doesn't believe that he could beat this guy. His team don't believe he could beat this guy. He's going to avoid that rematch, and it's definitely a bad look on him. And it makes his fans look bad. His fans got to defend this shit. And we're not taking away from his accolades. We know that Canelo's a 4-division champion, a former undisputed champion, former number 1 pound for pound. But the facts are he got dominated by Bivol, and he had a rematch clause, and he wanted no parts of that rematch. And it's a bad look for the face of boxing, the so-called number 1 pound for pound. He's not trying to be great. That's trying to be great. You know what I mean? That going for that rematch against this man, that beat you, but he doesn't want it. He doesn't want that smoke, and he's trying to take it an easy fight, a tune-up fight with Triple G, man. And it's definitely a bad look for Canelo. And it was another thing, bro. David Morrell Jr. is a very good fighter. He fought today. I don't know if you saw that fight, but on the PBC, on a Stephen Fulton, Daniel Roman undercard, man, this kid from Cuba, Morrell Jr., bro, is a monster, bro.
He's going to be a problem. He's going to be a problem. I mean, people looking at him, they're saying he doesn't have that many fights. Why should anyone fight him? But again, he's going to be a problem, man. He's going to be a problem, and you could see that he's a lot of risk for little reward, and guys are going to avoid him at 168. He's not going to get the big fights unless he becomes somebody's mandatory. And yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, if David Benavidez can't get a fight with Andrade, or if he can't get a fight with Charlo, or if he can't get a fight with Plant, that may be the fight to make. I mean, I think eventually David Benavidez may fight him if he could stay at 168. But that's another guy right there, David Benavidez at 168. How do you think he does against the Canelo Alvarez? Do you think that Canelo Alvarez is trying to avoid David Benavidez? Do you think that they're concerned that David Benavidez may be too big, too strong, brings too much pressure, fights at brings too much of a quick pace to the fight? Do you think they're concerned, Team Canelo, with that style of David Benavidez? And do you think that they thought that the Bivol fight was probably an easier fight?
It's a possibility because Benavidez, he's a dangerous fighter, no doubt about it. He has tremendous hand speed, great combinations, and he's bigger than Bivol. So that would be a dangerous fight for Canelo, but it is a different type of style though, because Benavidez doesn't have the movement of a Bivol. He doesn't have the jab or the defense of a Bivol, and I don't think he has the chin. But I believe offensively, he's way more dangerous than Bivol. He could do more things. And, the way Canelo was tired on the ropes, if he's like that with Benavidez, bro, Benavidez might have the possibility to stop Canelo, honestly. And I could see Morrell, another fighter like that, possibly stopping Canelo as well. These guys are dangerous. Benavidez, he hits harder than Bivol, much harder, and he's way more aggressive. He throws way more punches.
Who would you pick in that fight, in the David Benavidez Canelo Alvarez fight? Who would you think would win that fight? Who would be our pick?
Right now, I'll still, probably lean towards Canelo at the moment. I'll lean towards Canelo. Canelo showed me at 168. He's a good fighter. Canelo is undefeated at 168. Beat undefeated champions. Knocked out Caleb Plant. Stopped Billy Joe Saunders. He beat Callum Smith. So I'll still go with Canelo at 175. And Benavidez, he does get hit a lot. Benavidez is flat-footed. He got fast hands, but he got slow feet. So I'll go with Canelo on that one for right now. But Benavidez is still a dangerous fight for Canelo for sure.
So who do you think Benavidez is going to get next? Do you think that he'll get that an Andrade fight or a Caleb Plant fight? Who do you think is going to step up to the plate over there at PBC for David Benavidez?
It's hard to say because his promoter Samson, sometimes it's hard to deal with him. Demetrius Andrade said he will fight Benavidez, and his promoter Samson requested $10 million, just to negotiate. And I heard a fight with Caleb Plant was actually turned down by Benavidez's promoter. It was on the Boxing Voice with Nestor Gibbs, where Samson said yes, they turned down a fight. So I believe Benavidez is ready now. I think maybe a fight with Caleb Plant. But they're not even champions, Beeb. Does that fight really make sense? They don't have any belts.
Well, I mean, these guys are going to have to do something. They're going to have to do something, man. They're going to have to, they're going to have to figure something out for David Benavidez, because who else are these guys going to fight if they don't fight
Morrell, though? That Morrell fight, that's a good fight right there. Because Morrell, he does have a belt. He's the WBA world champion, the regular champion. He has the world title, and we know Canelo has the super title at that weight class. But David Benavidez, he's the WBC interim champion. So, I mean, I'm not sure, and some people feel like that fight is not ready with Morrell. They thinking that you got to build that fight up, but Morrell said he's ready for everybody, and he called out Benavidez. And I actually got Morrell beating Benavidez. I think he's bigger, he's smaller than him, with longer arms, and he got more skills.
So Morrell's going to be a problem, you think, at 168?
Yes, that's the guy for me right now.
He's a dark horse.
That's the guy, man. I love that guy, Beeb. I love that guy, man. So like when I first met you, I was talking about Haney. Now Haney's on top of the game. I don't have to say anything about Haney. The guy that I got now that's coming up, is David Morrell Jr. from Cuba. That's the guy. I like this guy.
So how do you think he matches up against Canelo Alvarez right now? Would you pick him over Canelo Alvarez if they
Yes,
would fight?
that
Wow.
guy
Okay.
is a monster.
So
He's a
that's the guy.
southpaw power. He throws a lot of punches. He got good skills, good footwork. Yes, I think that's the guy right there to take
Yeah.
over, at 168 pounds and even go up to 175 and take over that weight class. He's my future pound for pound, that guy. He's a monster for sure. I
That
think he
guy's a
beats
problem.
Canelo. I think he can stop Canelo for sure.
Yeah, that guy's a problem. Listen to this comment, man. You got this guy searching for Afos. You can tell this guy's a clear George Kambosos fan, saying, "Be positive. The rematch, Kambosos is going to be on his game. Knock out Haney." I mean, he's like the only guy that is clamoring hard for this rematch, and he's the only guy that thinks Kambosos has a shot in the rematch based off of what he saw last night. Uh, I mean, is this guy for real, or is he just kind of like caping? If he's just caping for George Kambosos, man, because
Yeah.
he was in my chat yesterday, man,
Yeah.
during the live broadcast, and he was saying all types of crazy shit, saying, "Oh, why wouldn't we want this rematch?" Blah blah blah. I mean, we gotta stop being, attached to these fighters. It's good to have fans. It's good to like these fighters, but I don't know. I just think we got to try and be objective here. We got to stop trying to live vicariously through these fighters, man. I mean, is this guy for real, bro?
Yeah, I think no, they don't want to give Devin Haney any credit. That's what it is, man. George Kambosos got destroyed by Devin Haney. He got dominated in front of his people in his own country, bro. Like Devin Haney is the real deal, man. George Kambosos got exposed, man. And I want to give Devin Haney all credit because they was hyping this guy up. I mean, I heard some people say this guy was a god. They said that George Kambosos was a Greek god, and Devin Haney just dominated him and made him look like shit, bro. So, man, I mean, I mean, the rematch. I mean, it's gonna be easy work, bro. There's no need for a rematch if George Kambosos got beat for every round. It was one-sided. There's no need for it. But if he wanted, he can get it. He needs that payday. He needs one more payday.
Yeah, I just can't. I just don't understand this guy, man. How he's like so hard up on this just George Kambosos rematch, man. I don't get it, bro. What do you
You
think
don't
of?
want to see the rematch?
I don't want to see the rematch, but this guy is like, oh, he's actually saying Kambosos can knock out Devin Haney, man.
Now he's delusional. He's delusional, bro. George Kambosos got exposed, bro. And some people are saying that George Kambosos was like a one-hit wonder. Some people say he was a hype job. Do you think he was?
I'll be honest with you, bro. I think he was overrated. I think people were really putting too much stock into that Teofimo Lopez win. I couldn't get out of my head the Lee Selby fight where he won by split decision, where he arguably could have lost that fight. I couldn't get out of my head the Mickey Bay fight where a well past his prime Mickey Bay was having success. I mean, I just think that that was the real George Kambosos. I think he was in the right place at the right time, and I'm gonna say it. Yeah, I do think he was a one hit wonder. When I look at a lot of guys at that division, I don't think George Kambosos can beat Tank. I don't think George Kambosos can beat Ryan Garcia. I don't think George Kambosos could beat Shakur Stevenson. I did like you look at all the guys at the top of that division. I don't think he can beat Isaac Cruz. I would pick all those guys, to beat George Kambosos, taking nothing away from him. I'm just giving my opinion. I just never been impressed with George Kambosos as a fighter, and I was shocked that he got that victory. I mean, he was a 13-1 underdog against Teofimo Lopez for a reason, and it seemed like the stars aligned up right for him, man. I mean, I'm just being honest. And this guy keeps going back and forth. He says these Haney fans sound like they're in love with Haney. Well, I mean, if you watched the fight yesterday, it's hard to say that Devin Haney didn't win at least 10 of those 12 rounds, man. At least 10. I only gave George Kambosos one round yesterday, and some people had it a virtual shutout. So do you really have to be in love with Haney to be able to see that Kambosos got dominated? I think I think a guy who never watched the sport of boxing yesterday could have watched that fight and could have said that George Kambosos was getting dominated and schooled yesterday. I don't understand it.
For sure, B, man. It was a great performance by Devin Haney. I think Devin Haney is the best young American fighter. He's the youngest fighter on the pound for pound list. He is the youngest undisputed champion in the history of the four belt era. A real undisputed champion, not a fake undisputed champion like Teofimo Lopez. Now, what does this say about Teofimo Lopez? That he got dominated by George Kambosos, and you saw what Devin Haney did with Kambosos.
You know, I'm gonna say this about Teofimo Lopez. He's shown to have mental problems creep into his head. Just him and Ryan Garcia, to me, it seems like moving forward in their career, they're always gonna have mental issues. They're always gonna let emotion, whether it be outside or inside the ring, they're always going to have some type of problem in their life that's going to have an effect on their boxing career. I think both of those guys are kind of mentally unstable, and that's a big flaw for both guys. They're both young. Maybe they could learn how to deal with that stuff and work their way through it as they get older and mature. But right now, Teofimo Lopez always seems to let his personal life creep into his professional life. And we saw firsthand what happened against George Kambosos. We even saw it in the Nakatani fight where he kind of struggled in that fight, where he was going through some issues. If he doesn't grab a hold of this problem and nip it in the butt, it's gonna be hard for me to be confident in Teofimo Lopez moving forward, man, because it always seems to be something. Always says these outlandish things, like he thinks he won the fight. He thinks it was a robbery against George Kambosos. When you can't deal with reality, man, then you're not going to be able to correct your mistakes moving forward. If you're in denial that you even did anything wrong, if you're in denial that there's outside forces, in your life that's affecting your boxing career, if you can't address that issue, then how do you progress moving forward? I think it's going to be hard for Teofimo Lopez to come back, and even Ryan Garcia, he doesn't seem too enthusiastic. I mean, he talks a good game, but does he really want Tank in December like he says? So I think that if you are have some issues mentally as a fighter, right? I think that's a red flag for me. What are your thoughts on Teofimo Lopez? You think he can come back? I mean, he seems to think that he can go right back up to 140. He thinks he can dominate 140. I don't know, man. What do you think?
I think Teofimo Lopez, he's a good fighter, and he showed and he proved that he was a good fighter. But it's like, man, this guy, he let the fame get to his head that Lomachenko win, and he was feeling himself way too much. Him and his daddy. And he's hard-headed, Teofimo Lopez. This guy was on top of the game, and he threw it all away, and I feel like Teofimo Lopez, he's immature. And I feel like his dad is as well. So is his daddy. But I feel like, he can become a champion again. I think Teofimo Lopez will become a champion again at 140. But when he's saying everybody's ducking him, nobody wants to fight you, come on, bro. He's capping. He does too much capping. He needs to shut his mouth. He needs to shut his damn mouth. He just got his ass whooped by George Kambosos. And we just seen Devin Haney destroy Kambosos, made him look like nothing. So Teofimo Lopez must rebuild himself. I feel like the kid has potential. And I want to see Teofimo Lopez in some big fights. But Teofimo Lopez is mentally, he's very weak. Very weak.
What do you think Josh Taylor is going to do at 140? Do you think, I mean, he got stripped of one of his belts, but he hasn't officially moved up to 147 yet. He doesn't seem too enthusiastic and too keen on giving Jack Catterall a rematch. Do you think that's a fight that we could see Teofimo Lopez versus Josh Taylor, both top-ranked fighters? Do you think that maybe, Teofimo will have like one fight at 140 and then maybe go right for a title in his second fight? how do you see that whole scenario playing out for Teofimo Lopez?
I think Josh Taylor should move up to 147. His last fight with Jack Catterall, he didn't look good at all. I think he should just drop the belts. Drop the belts. And as far as Teo has a fight coming up. A fight with Josh Taylor and Teo. I don't see that fight happening. I don't. I see Josh moving up to 147. I see Teofimo Lopez taking a tune-up fight. And I don't see that fight happening. I don't. But I want to see Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez. I would love to see that fight. Teofimo Lopez was talking so much shit about Devin Haney, calling him an email champion, and then he got beat by George Kambosos. And now Devin Haney beat the man that beat Teo. He got Teo looking like a fool. And Teo was saying he was an undisputed champion, and everybody know he was capping with that franchise belt. So now you got Devin Haney, who was a real undisputed champion, and he always wanted to fight Teofimo Lopez. I want to see Teofimo Lopez, to take that tune-up fight he got. He got a tune-up fight coming up, and then a fight with Devin Haney.
We got someone else who just jumped in and says, Tank dog walks Devin. Wow. Okay. So we got a Tank fan in the house. So you don't think that Devin would have a shot against Tank, huh, brother?
Make sure it ain't no troll, Beeb.
That's probably a troll.
Nah, brah.
That's my boy Puro. What up, Pete?
What's up? What's going on, fellas? What's going down?
What's up, man?
Same old beefs, man. What up, H Plata? What's going on?
What's good?
Same old shit, man. Just talking shit over there with rep and shit, shooting the shit.
So were you impressed with Devin last night, or do you just think he was in the right place at the right time against the right guy?
I mean, from the get-go when the fight was announced, well, actually not even from the fight was announced, but when Cambosos beat Teo, the only thing that I didn't get answered was like not that it was necessarily a fluke, but like because I think Kambosos showed like that championship medal in the last 2 rounds to pull that fight out. But like, was it more that Teo kind of like came in with like just a retarded, excuse the word, with not a smart game plan, or was it just Kambosos is that good? So I think I think the school's still out because the fight wasn't super close. Like it was a clear Devin win, but I mean it was still close enough where like maybe Kambosos can make some adjustments in the rematch. But other than that, yeah, I just it answered my question where it's like, yeah, I think Teo just kind of fought like just a really bad fight. That's why he lost.
So was George Kambosos a one-hit wonder in your opinion?
Yes and no. I mean, jury's still out. I mean, like we'll see it in the rematch, if he can make any adjustments.
Well,
then no.
So do you think, what are your thoughts on the rematch? You think we need it? Are you kind of disappointed that we have that rematch? Because I want to talk about a story that I read like last week. First, I'm going to get your thoughts on whether or not the rematch makes sense. But also, I want to throw this at you. They were saying that Todd DeBuff from Top Rank was talking to Lomachenko about getting the winner of this fight. So I'm wondering if there was something going on behind the scenes, if they were working out something behind the scenes where maybe they could circumvent the rematch with George Kambosos and possibly we get a Lomachenko Devin Haney fight. Do you think that could be a possibility according to some of these reports? Because it's hard to believe these reports because we hear so many of these stories just pop out of the woodwork and they're not really true. It seems like people just put information out there. But would you rather see Devin Haney fight Lomachenko and say the hell with this rematch with George Kambosos? What do you think?
I mean, I'd rather see Devin fight Tank, to be honest. But I mean, that's just because I'm a Tank fan, But yeah, I would definitely want to see him fight Lomachenko. But I don't even know what the deal is with Loma. I mean, shit, I haven't even fucking heard of him. He might not even come back. But yeah, I mean, to me, to be honest, Bob got what he wanted, was what all the belts over at Top Rank. So like literally everything has to go through him. So at the end of the day, it's whatever what Bob wants. If Bob says, "Okay, you're fighting the rematch," or if he's fighting a rematch. If he says you're fighting Loma, you're fighting whoever, I mean, that's the next fight that's going to happen. But me, just on a personal level, since like this is like Kambosos' first loss, and he's never had to. I don't have anything like precedent to like base. Oh yeah, I don't want to watch it because he's already like shown me in the past that he can't adjust. That is still kind of a question. But to be honest, I mean, like, I just want to watch the fight. So, like, literally, yeah. I mean, the rematch, I'm down with. I'm down with Lomachenko. I'm down with Tank, Ryan, anybody.
Well, I got to ask both you guys, man. Let's go down the list here at lightweight. Let's look at some of the top names here. We got Lomachenko. Obviously, we got Devin Haney now. We got Tank Davis. We got Ryan Garcia. We got Isaac Cruz. We got Joseph Diaz Jr. We got Richard Comey. We got Javier Fortuna. Right? Does George Kambosos beat any of those guys? I don't think I wouldn't pick him against Tank. I wouldn't pick him over Ryan Garcia. I wouldn't pick him obviously over Devin Haney. I think Lomachenko whitewashes him too. Who could George Kambosos beat moving? Like if Devin Haney decides to vacate and move up to 140. Is it a given that George Kambosos can even become champion again if he's got to face one of those guys? But obviously we know how the sanctioned bodies work. You'll probably get a guy no one heard about in fight for a vacant title. But if you look at the landscape of this lightweight division, name one top guy at lightweight that you would pick George Kambosos to beat. Because I don't want to make this about a disrespect George Kambosos show, but I just got to be honest, man. I just was never impressed with the guy. I wouldn't pick him over Tank. I wouldn't pick him over Ryan. I wouldn't pick him over Isaac. I think Isaac Cruz would be a nightmare of a style for him. I just don't think he beats any of these guys at lightweight, man. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, H. Take it.
I mean, that's a great question, brother. I think he could give Ryan Garcia some problems, but I think the size of Ryan Garcia and the power. Ryan Garcia is a dangerous fighter, but Ryan doesn't have the defense like a Devin Haney. And if you're able to push Ryan Garcia backwards, Ryan doesn't know how to fight off that back foot. He's still developing, and he's still a young fighter. So I will give him a good chance against Ryan. But yeah, man, Ryan, I could see Ryan knocking him out. A fight with Tank, I see Tank stopping him. I can see him giving Tank some problems too, though, with his because he does throw a lot of punches, and Tank is still a short fighter. Tank is very small. He got the size advantage over Tank, but I think Tank can knock him out. Yeah, man, it's hard to say, B. To be honest, man, I think he could beat JoJo Diaz. I think he could beat JoJo.
Yeah, maybe grind out a decision against JoJo. But that would be a tough fight too, man. You got a southpaw in JoJo Diaz. You got a guy who can fight well on the inside. You got a guy who throws a lot of punches too. But yeah, I think maybe that fight you could probably I think Kambosos may win that fight. You could favor him there, but I don't think it would be easy.
But a quick question: who gave Devin Haney a tougher fight, JoJo Diaz or George Kambosos?
I had the JoJo Diaz fight wide too for Devin Haney. I'll be honest. You can make an argument JoJo Diaz did. Really? I thought I thought I gave JoJo Diaz 2 rounds in that fight. I only gave George Kambosos 1. So according to my scorecards, I think JoJo gave him a tougher fight. But I know a lot of people who had that fight close. I didn't think that fight was close, but a lot of people had that JoJo Diaz fight close. Like a couple people I talked to, they had it 7-5 for Devin. I scored it 10-2 for Devin. Maybe at the most I could possibly make it 9-3. I would actually say JoJo Diaz gave Devin Haney a better fight than George Kambosos. This is probably the most one-sided fight against a champion that I've seen in a long time out of a challenger. If I'm being honest, I've never seen a domination like this, especially going into this fight. It was looked upon as being a 50-50 fight. I just didn't see it. I didn't see it as a 50-50 fight. I'm just being honest. I mean, people can go back and look at the videos I done. And I thought that Devin Haney, I actually picked Devin Haney to win by stoppage. I thought he could get a late stoppage. But even before I made that prediction, I said that, Devin Haney is gonna win wide one way or the other. This fight is not going to be competitive, whether it goes a distance or whether he gets a stoppage. But yeah, to answer your question, I honestly think Jojo Diaz gave him a tougher fight. And I wouldn't count Jojo Diaz out against George Kambosos, if I'm being honest. I think that's a tough, close fight. And I think Jojo Diaz could win that fight. But I would slightly edge Kambosos in that fight. But yeah, what do you think? Do you think that Jojo gave Devin a tougher fight? I mean, damn.
Yeah, he did. I think so. Because I think he landed some bigger punches, and I just think the style of JoJo, was a tougher fight for Devin Haney. Devin Haney made it look so easy against Cambosos, man. And I think Devin Haney just like he took this fight so serious. He take every fight serious though, but like it was so much on the line, a chance to make history. And man, that was probably the best performance I've seen from Devin Haney in a very long time. Like, man, he's getting better and better, Beeb, and he's only 23 years old, man. This kid is amazing, Beeb, and I just want to say this before I go. Devin Haney is the new face of American boxing. It's Haney time. Haney, undisputed. Let's go, bro. Unbelievable.
One last question before I let you go. Right, I don't want to hold you up too long because I know you got a thing to do. What do you think about Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney? Who would you pick in that fight? Because I think Shakur Stevenson is going to be the new face of American boxing. But what are your thoughts on that matchup?
I love it. I love that fight, man. Two of the best fighters. Some people got Shakur Stevenson on the pound for pound. Devin Haney should be on the pound for pound. Just like somebody in the comment section, somebody said Devin Haney top 5 pound for pound. I think that fight in the future, Beeb, will be for the number 1 pound for pound, to be honest with you. And I think Devin Haney is going to beat Shakur Stevenson. I think Devin Haney is too big for Shakur Stevenson, and he got a lot of skills, and he's more aggressive. And I think Devin Haney is willing to take more chances. He's more aggressive than Shakur Stevenson. And I think that's the difference in the jab. Devin Haney got the best jab in boxing, Beeb. He got a Larry Holmes type of jab. He got an Andre Ward power jab. And I got Haney. I like Shakur. He's a great fighter, but I got Devin Haney over Shakur Stevenson over everybody, man. He's the number 3 pound for pound, the best, undisputed. If Shakur wanted, tell him to move up. That's all he got to do and get a shot at this undisputed, man. Because Haney, he's taking all challengers, everybody, man. He's free smoke, Beef. Bill Haney really good. Yes, man. Congratulations, Devin Haney. Shout out to the ringside reporter, man. Shout out to my brother Puro. I'm out, guys. Peace.
All right, bro. I'll catch you.
Yeah, I got Haney in that one too, Beef.
You got Haney over Shakur too?
Yeah, I don't rate Shakur at all, to be honest.
Okay, what don't you like about? I'm just curious. I mean, what don't you like about Shakur?
All respect to him, because I do try to actually I do respect all the fighters. That get into the ring. I think he's a hype job, to be honest.
What did you think?
Watching his biggest fights?
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I see. I mean, the Valdez fight, like a lot of people are like, oh, it's because you lost money, blah, blah, blah. I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't lose any money. I made it all back on the poker table. But anyways, I digress. I mean, it's just, I've seen a Valdez that's been outboxed before and still found a way to win, either by knockout or eke it out. You get what I'm saying? Like, I thought, because I did pick Valdez to win just by experience and
sure.
His power.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
No, but the fight, and I saw the fight live. I went to Vegas.
Oh, wow. Watch good for you, brother.
Yeah. So it is because I had, I just like, I think I had $1,000 on YouTube and on, with the bookie or whatever. So I was like, fuck it, man. I already got a G ball. Might as well just go buy a ticket and go make it a weekend, whatever. So anyways, I went over there, but you can't really like tell too much. Like, I just literally thought he just got his ass kicked. You know what I'm saying? From my vantage point, but then when I rewatched the fight, like maybe like 3 or 4 times, so it's just like, I don't know. It's just like everything that they say that Shakur is kind of. I mean, like literally, it was to me. It was like Valdez. Like how they say he's like a master of distance. To me, it was like Valdez getting into his ideal distance and not letting his hands go. You know what I'm saying? He landed a few straight rights, But I mean, other than that, literally, it's kind of like the Conceição fight. That fight, he was getting his ass kicked the first 6 rounds, but he was still like going to the body. The little bit that Robson gave him, like he took it, and in this fight, he just like kind of went out the window. And then, I mean, it's spiritual or whatever. I just don't rate Shakur that high. I actually don't rate Devin that high, to be honest. But he is. I never just by the quality of his wins and how he looked against Cambosos yesterday. I mean, he's a skilled fighter. I just don't think like the hype that I guess himself, Eddie Hearn, and Top Rank. I don't think he matches that. But I mean, he's still a very good boxer.
If they do fight, it'll be the first time that either guy is really going to be in there with a guy that is, you can argue is comparable in speed, comparable in athleticism. Who do you think is the harder puncher of the two, though? Because both guys really aren't known to be hard punchers. Who would you give the edge to in power?
I actually think Devin has kind of it's kind of like what they say Floyd had, which in my opinion he didn't really have, is like enough to keep you honest. But I actually think he actually has that the ability to keep you honest. I guess just because to me they both fight kind of similar but different.
Similar, yeah.
Like they're more like I'll box you and defense first. Not get into not mix it up as much, but like it's just a little bit more for lack of a better word, egregious with Shakur. Whereas in like Devin, like I mean, even when it's in previous fights, not this one in particular, but in previous fights, you could tell like he like wanted to prove a point, like asking Linares if he hit hard, or like just getting into like brawls when he doesn't need to, or he can just kind of like use his jab, kind of like he beat Cambosos yesterday. It's just kind of like use your jab, try to throw a combination here or there. But I mean, I've seen him want to engage. It's kind of like it's not like somebody made him engage per se, but like he wanted to engage, to prove a point to himself, to the fans, whatever. But Shakur it's always like, just defense first. I mean, like like even if you have a chance to like it's kind of like the Joet fight, if you remember it. Like to me, the Joet fight is kind of like the like if you wanted to show, okay, this is how Shakur fights, show him that fight, because like literally he had multiple times where he could have like obliterated Joet when he made a miss, and then to me all he does is throw like a hook, but he doesn't like sit on it. It's just kind of like to throw him off balance so he can take it back to the center of the ring. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I see in all his fights. That's why I don't rate him that high. I mean, he is young, he doesn't have a lot of fights, so maybe this is just kind of like growing pains and I'm just kind of like looking too much into it, but that's just the way I see it.
Yeah, the big difference I see is like Shakur can show him the ability to fight a little bit up close, whereas Devin Haney, when the fight gets close and a guy kind of collapses the pocket on him, he likes to clinch a lot. But even I think what gets understated is Devin Haney's physical strength, because when he did grab George Kambosos, he would like walk him back as he was grabbing him. He would maneuver him, he would push him back, lean on him, and just put his body on him and show his physicality in there. So I think, Devin Haney is really good at using his size. And you could tell last night that Devin Haney was a much bigger guy, I thought, than George Kambosos. So the only chance George Kambosos had really was to make the fight ugly, was to make the fight a rough and tumble kind of sloppy fight, and I don't think he was able to do that because of Devin Haney's size and strength. So that could play a part against Shakur Stevenson. So if Shakur Stevenson wants to kind of let his hands go on the inside, I think Devin Haney could kind of wrap him up. But one thing we did see last night, and I don't know if you saw it, but a lot of people were criticizing Devin Haney for initiating the clinches. But I thought George Kambosos was trying to grab that left hand of Devin Haney a lot. And on one occasion, he was kind of like trying to get him in an arm lock. You could definitely see that George Kambosos was getting frustrated, and he wasn't, always, not avoiding clinches too. He was kind of initiating some of those clinches, in my opinion. That's the way I saw it. What did you think of the tactics of George Kambosos? Do you think that, it wasn't all Devin Haney initiating those clinches?
Yeah, I agree with you, Beeps. It was like 50-50. I think like, yeah, maybe frustration. Yeah, I would say that's probably what it was. Frustration. He just kind of like most of the clinches they kind of ran into each other, and then
Yeah,
it's kind of like all right, wait for the referee to break us up or whatever. But yes, I would say it was probably half and half. But I
yeah,
mean, if you want to like if you have to give it to like 60-40, I mean, I guess you could say Devin. But yeah,
yeah.
I mean, I thought it was mutual.
So based off what you saw yesterday, if Devin Haney does move up to 140, who beats him at 140? I mean, I don't think based off what I saw last night, I don't think Josh Taylor beats Devin Haney. I don't know who I could say definitively would beat Devin Haney at 140 right now if he were to move up. I could see him becoming undisputed at 140 as well. What are your thoughts about Devin Haney moving up to 140?
I mean, if he can't, if he struggles with the weight, which I didn't see him struggle with this time, but I've heard, I think I've heard Devin say it, I've heard Bill say it that they want to move up because it's getting hard to make the weight. Um, I mean, I think, shit, man, fucking 140 is full of killers too. I mean, me personally, I wouldn't want him to move up because there's still work to do, in my opinion, at 135. But if he does move up because of the weight, I mean, I think he could beat maybe probably most of the up and comers,
Well,
because I don't know what they are yet, and to be honest, I don't know what Devin is yet because I always try to remind myself that Devin is still really young, you know,
I
and
mean, I would pick him over Josh Taylor, right? I would pick him over Jose Ramirez, right? I would pick him over Cepeda. Um, and I don't know, based off what I saw yesterday, I would maybe pick him over Teofimo Lopez too. I think a tough fight would be Regis Prograis, but we saw Regis Prograis come up short against Josh Taylor. So I think the toughest fight for him at 140, if you look at it from a stylistic standpoint, would maybe be that Jack Catterall fight, because this is another guy who fights pretty well on the outside, right? But yeah, I think he could be. I think he'd be a force at 142. I would favor him over all those guys at 140. If I'm being honest, I think he's bigger. He's just as big, if not bigger, than a lot of those guys at 142. I think his speed, his jab, his ability to counterpunch, his ability to really gauge the range and dictate the pace of the fight. I just think that I would pick him over a lot of those guys at 142 right now, if I'm being honest.
I hear you. I think Regis would be. I think at this moment he loses to Regis.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I rate
Wow.
Regis high. I mean, I thought Regis beat Josh Taylor.
I thought he did too.
Um,
Yeah, I had him winning that
yeah.
fight.
I don't think Regis fought not Cepeda, excuse me, Ramirez, right? Or did he?
No, he hadn't fight Ramirez yet.
Yeah,
No.
fought Ramirez, and then Cepeda. I think he's the dark horse in that division. I mean, I think that guy's a killer. I
Yeah,
mean, like,
he's still dangerous. That guy.
yeah, I heard there's rumblings like that Josh Taylor's gonna fight him next. I remember Todd LaBeouf tweeted that they were kind of in like the final stages of negotiation, but they haven't fucking announced anything.
I
But I
mean,
actually think Cepeda kills Josh Taylor. I think he knocks him out.
this is the ridiculous thing about the sanctioning bodies. So Deontay Wilder gets knocked out in back-to-back fights against Tyson Fury, but he's still ranked number one by the WBC. Jack Catterall arguably beats Josh Taylor, and then they bump him down to like number 3 or 4, and they're putting like I think who's the mandatory. There's someone else who's the mandatory above Jack Catterall in that division. I forget.
Puello, I think.
Yeah, how the fuck does that make sense? I don't understand these fucking sanctioning bodies. Like that is such bullshit. That's politics at its best. Like, and if Josh Taylor fights Cepeda and he doesn't fight Jack Catterall, that's a horrible look right there. Because if you're not moving up, if you're not going to move up to 147 and you're going to stay at 140 and you're not going to give Jack Catterall a rematch, that is a fucking horrible look right there, man. That is disgraceful in my opinion. I'm just being honest.
I hear you. But if I would put myself in Josh Taylor's shoes, I think most people think that like Catterall beat him and it was a robbery. So he's kind of getting it from all sides. So I'm like, what? So like, literally, who cares? I'm gonna get. For me, I'd be like, I'm gonna get shit from these dudes. I'm gonna get shit from these dudes. Might as well do what I want.
I mean, I had it a close fight. I mean, I still thought Catterall won, but I had him winning like I think by a point. I think it was a real close fight. I think I had it 113 to 112 for Catterall.
Oh shit.
But I thought it was close. I mean, I think that Josh Taylor could maybe give him a better fight in a rematch. I think unless and until he fights Jack Catterall, I think he's going to be facing a lot of criticism. A lot of people are going to just come down hard on him, man. If he fights someone else at 140 and not Jack Catterall, I think he's going to catch a lot of heat, in my opinion. That's how I see it.
I hear you.
You
Also,
know?
I hear a lot of good things though about if he takes a Cepeda fight. Like I hear a lot of if you don't take this one, we're gonna give you a bunch of shit. But also hear, okay, like if he doesn't fight Catterall, Cepeda is actually, like, well, okay, that's a good fight to take. I guess I think Cepeda gets a lot of respect from the boxing.
Yeah, Zepeda is a tough guy. He could punch a little bit. I give him a lot of credit. I respect him. But yeah, I don't hate that fight. I still think it's a tough fight for Taylor. But I think the Catterall fight, from a stylistic standpoint, is more difficult, if I'm being honest.
And I hear you. I hear you. To me, to be honest, I missed the Catterall fight. So like I've heard like where you're saying it's like it was a close fight. To me, close fights aren't robberies, but a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like,
I didn't think it was a robbery. I didn't think it was a robbery, but I thought it could have gone either way, if I'm being honest.
yeah. Oh, I mean, then there you go. I mean, like literally, like if like I didn't watch the fight, but I'll take your word for it, Beebs. Like literally, I mean, then to me, he's getting the shit that he's not warranted to. So like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Corey Lee's boxing. What's going on, brother? Oh, he dropped off. All right.
dropped off. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of.
I'm actually gonna get some rest myself.
All right, man. I'll catch up with you, bro. Thanks for stopping
5:26.
by, man.
No, thank you for letting me on, brother. Take it easy.
I appreciate it, bro.
No problem, man. Peace.
All right, man. Be good. Yeah, so this was a complete whitewash, in my opinion. No need for a rematch, if I'm being honest. Um, I don't want to disrespect George Cambosos. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I don't know, man. I kind of do think he was a one-hit wonder. I still pick a lot of guys over him in this division. I thought that this was, he was the low-hanging fruit. But again, this is what Devin Haney had to do to become undisputed. He couldn't get the fight with Teo. Teo didn't seem too enthusiastic about fighting him. Couldn't get fights with other top lightweights in this division. So, it was just tough for Devin Haney, man. But once again, I don't think he can be called the email champion ever again. I think he definitely earned his stripes. He went into the backyard of George Kambosos and put on a virtual shutout. It was a clinic, in my opinion. We'll see what happens moving forward. This is another good question. What's your take on Mel versus 2 situation, Beeps? I think Jamel will fight him. I mean, Tim Tszyu was on PBC fighting Gachet. Thought it was a solid performance, but I think Fondora would be a tougher fight for Jamel. I would pick Jamel over Tim Tszyu. I think Tim Tszyu does get hit. I don't think his defense is as sharp as even Castaño's was. I don't think he moves like Castaño. So I think he'll be right there in the pocket exchanging with Jamel. And I think Jamel's got the quicker feet, quicker hands. I think he could step around Tim Tszyu a lot, turn him, create the punching angles for himself. And I could also see him being able to counterpunch Tim Tszyu as Tim Tszyu tries to load up with that left hook, because he's a little front foot heavy sometimes with that left hook. I favor Charlo in that fight. I think it'll happen. I can see that fight happening. I really can. I don't. Beeb, what's the play on Donaire Inoue 2? I would either take the under in that fight, or I would bet Inoue with the stoppage proposition. I love Donaire, no disrespect to him, but yeah, I don't see him. I don't see him beating Inoue. I think Inoue will do a lot better in this rematch. He hurt Donaire in that fight. He came on strong at the end. He did suffer a broken orbital bone. Donaire has been showing that he's improved a lot with his right hand. He's starting to. He's known for his left hook, but now he's starting to throw like right hand leads and stuff to set up that left hook. Before he would just kind of like throw left hand leads, but now he's actually throwing right hand leads now. And I think he caught Inoue off guard. But I think because Inoue broke his orbital bone, because he had that damaged eye early in the fight, I think it affected his performance. I think it would have been different if he wasn't damaged. It didn't have facial damage. But I do like Inoue by stoppage, probably maybe in 9 rounds. Yeah, I think Inoue will go to the body more. He saw that he could hurt Donaire to the body, so I think he'll go back to that in the second fight. And I think Inoue will wear the older Donaire down. I love Donaire, no disrespect, but I just think Inoue is gonna get the stoppage this time. What's my take on Teo versus Josh Taylor? Wow, that's a crazy fucking fight. I would probably favor Josh Taylor in that fight if I'm being honest. I think Teofimo Lopez, man. I just don't. And until he gets his head back on, as he gets his head right, gets back on track mentally, I think he's gonna have a lot of problems moving forward, man. I could see him getting emotional in this fight too. I could see Josh Taylor getting under his skin. Teo always seems to carry baggage going into these fights. So, yeah, I would pick Josh Taylor in that fight, if I'm being honest. Ronald Finkley says Jermell Charlo should fight a tune-up, let them guys fight. And then he gives the shot at Fundora versus give them a shot. Fundora versus Castano. Yeah, it's not a bad fight. MAW asks me, he says, solid takes, Beeb. Do you think Spence versus Bud is happening, or are we still holding false hope? I think they could make that fight. I was hoping that they could make it for this year, but worst case scenario, I think we'll at least see it at the beginning of next year. If I'm being honest. Again, this guy is like just caping so hard for George Kambosos, bro. I just don't think he wins the rematch. Fury done that to Wilder, clinched him. Wilder tried to change tactics, but totally failed at it. Camp is not as delusional. He can be smarter. Again, I don't want to disrespect you, man, but it just seems like you're really running defense hard for Kambosos, bro. I mean, he won 2 rounds at best last night. I just don't see how he could do anything different. There's nothing to go crazy over Haney about. Like, he won 10. How did you score the fight yesterday, bro? The fight was not even remotely close, brother. You're the only one in this chat. There's 80 people watching right now. Live, right? You're the only one who's caping for this dude. It wasn't even close. Like stop caping for fighters, bro. Like, I'm the biggest Tyson Fury fan of all time. I love the guy. Love him to death, right? But if he retires and doesn't fight Usyk, it's going to be a bad look for him, right? People will question, if he avoided Usyk, right? If Usyk wins. And I won't, and there's nothing I can say to defend the guy. I don't cape for guys. Even if I like a fighter, I don't cape for him. So why not the rematch? Because it wasn't a competitive. Again, it wasn't even close, brother. There's only your name is Afos, so obviously you're Greek. Can we at least admit your bias? At least admit your bias. Let's do a poll in the chat. Who wants to see Haney rematch Kambosos? Gotta stop caping for these fighters, man. Do you want to see Kambosos rematch Haney? Let's put it out there. Nobody wants the rematch except for you. You're fucking caping, bro. Stop it. It's embarrassing. It's fucking embarrassing, bro. It's embarrassing. I don't know if the rematch will happen. I don't know. I don't know, bro. Who wants to see the rematch? Well, let's see what the chat says. We got 80 people, 82 people watching right now. Let's see if let's see what happens. You know? Let's see if that happens. Yeah, I'm scared of Kambosos. Again, George Greek, another Kambosos fan. Another Kambosos fan. You guys got to stop it, bro. You guys are fanboys, bro. You got to stop it. Fight wasn't even close. It was ridiculous. Once again, the rematch was contracted for Canelo versus Bivol, but it's not happening, bro, because Canelo didn't exercise it. Why would Kambosos put himself in a situation? I think when they go back and look at the tape, I think that they'll realize that the fight was one-sided, and they'll probably not take the rematch. That's how I just don't think it'll happen. It wasn't a very exciting, entertaining fight. The fans in Australia were actually cheering for Haney as the fight was going on. I have a feeling the rematch may not even happen. I have a fear. I think when they sit down and look at it, I got Haney over everybody except for Shakur Stevenson. If I'm being honest. Who wins, Antoine or Regis? That's a tough fight. I may edge Antoine in that because I think Regis can only move so much in that fight, and then if he gets caught up in an exchange, I think Antoine could get the better of him. Antoine's got a beautiful, beautiful fucking left hook, man. The rematch is happening because Kambosos can't get another high payday with anyone. Well, I mean, so you're saying that he's going to cash out against Haney? Because what happens if he loses again? He's going to have 2 back-to-back losses. Is that something that you would want if you're handling Kambosos? Is that something you would advise? If you're his advisor, let me ask you this, guys: if you're Kambosos' advisor right now, after seeing how he lost so one-sidedly, do you put him back in there with Devin Haney? If you're the manager? And do you think even the Australians would want to see the rematch? Because, like, again, even at the post-fight press conference, like, Devin Haney made a lot of fans. Even the Australian guys were asking like Kambosos question because he's like, "Do you think this fight is close?" He goes, "Do you think this fight is close?" And even the Australian guy said, like, when Kambosos said, he goes, "I thought the fight was close. It doesn't look like I've been in a war." Then the Australian reporter goes, "Well, your face looks like you've been in a war." Like even these Australian dudes are throwing shade at Kambosos, man. They don't even want a rematch, man. So I don't know. I don't know what y'all like. Again, like, you want to cape for dudes, cape for them. I mean, just admit that you're caping for a dude. You know, I mean, the best I could come up with is 118 and 110. I had it 119 and 109.
What's going on, y'all?
What's going on, man? Am I living in the quantum realm right now, or what the fuck is going on with these fucking guys?
Wow, man, y'all really got it, man. First of all, I want to say what's up to everybody, man. I hope everybody's having a wonderful Sunday.
Obviously the bout didn't go as some in the chat would have, I guess assumed it would have went. My initial prediction for this fight was a split decision win for Devin Haney. I got it in writing in Champ Ross's prediction league. You guys can go check that out on Facebook. He puts up everybody's predictions. So I thought it was going to be a closer fight than what it was. When I watched the fight, it was a different fight. It was a different fight. It was the jab. The jab was the main operative. It was the main tool used to dissect George Kambosos. Okay, you guys. It did not look pretty at times for George Kambosos. I would like to say he got embarrassed at times, in front of his hometown crowd. Devin Haney did not waver. He's a young, very focused champion. And this showed me a lot about Devin Haney. This showed me a lot about Devin Haney and about, what route he could go in this world of boxing, man. And 135 pounds is on fire right now. You got, Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis chomping at the bits to fight a guy, like Devin Haney, and they might not be waiting in line because of the promotional stuff, man, but Devin Haney is the guy at 135 right now, straight up, man. And with that being said, man, Joe, how you doing today?
you know me, man. Look at the fresh cut. You see the fresh cut I got, man? I mean, I'm doing well. Oh, shit. My man's got internet problems, man. Let's see if I can get him back on. But, yeah, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, but I'll stick to what I initially said, man. I just don't see a rematch being different. The fight was not competitive whatsoever. I have no interest in seeing a rematch. I really don't. Corey, I'm gonna boot you out, and I want you come back right now. I'll drop the link again. Try to come back in, man. Seem like you're having some issues. Maybe you need to reboot or what have you, but I got the link back in there for you. I'll wait for you a little bit longer. Corey Lee say he's charging his laptop, but he's a trip. I'm gonna wait for him though. But yeah, man. Let me see how this poll is going. If anybody wants, now look at this. We got 38 votes. 39 votes, right? And 95% of the people in this poll do not want to see a rematch. So I'm guessing this 5% is searching for Afos and the other Greek dude who's a George Kambosos fan. I mean, again, man, I'm gonna keep trolling you motherfuckers, man. Searching for Afo's trying his best. Yeah, he's probably gonna create some fucking ghost accounts so he could kind of like even that poll out a little bit, man. It's fucking laughable, bro. Come on, bro. We got Corey Lee back. How you doing, brother? You good?
No, my bad about that, man. I got so excited I forgot to charge my laptop.
That's all right, man. It's all right,
yeah, man. So what were you saying? So I mean, this is my first time tuning in today, man. How was your assessment, Joe? I know you probably said it 10 times already, but how was your assessment on the fight, man?
I think it was one-sided, and people want to say, oh, all Devin Haney was doing was landing jabs, but once again, if that jab is landing with the effectiveness of a right hand, you saw how the jab was snapping. He was landing that jab with the strength of that jab was as hard as a right hand last night. You could see how he was snapping George Kambosos' head back. He was pushing him back with it. That's all he needed to really do, because the jab was killing George Kambosos. Right? Yeah. And George Kambosos is like saying, "Oh, I heard him several times in the fight, bro. You never heard him one time. Stop with the BS, bro. Like, why can't these guys? I know these guys are proud guys. Why can't they ever just tell the truth after a fight, man? Like, you could not. Like Devin Haney as soon as that final bell rang, he jumped up on the ropes. He was smiling. Kambosos is like walked back to his corner with his head down. He knew he lost the fucking fight. He knew the fight wasn't close. I mean, just say I lost to the better man and move on. Oh, I don't want to make excuses. Oh, okay, but you are making excuses. Oh, the ref let him get away with it. What did the ref let him get away with?
But Joe,
You were arm locking the dude, bro.
But Joe, I gotta say to George Cambosos' defense, man, there's two sides to every story, and he knows it's gonna be a rematch, man. So you know, George Cambosos thinking in his head, how can I admit to defeat if I gotta fight this guy again? You know what I mean? That's just mentally. I don't think he wanted it. I know he mentally probably got broken a little bit in this fight because this was his first dominated loss. You know, first loss of his career, but first dominating loss. Okay, so for a guy to know he gets a chance at that again, I think that will put fuel in the fire of George Camboso. But will it be enough? My personal opinion is I think he should have put somebody new in his training camp before the fight.
Freezing up again, Corey.
Same things, and I just think that they should switch it up and maybe bring another voice in George Camboso's corner because obviously the first time they didn't get it right at all. They didn't get it right at all, Beeps. They didn't close the distance. They didn't do a lot of things that a shorter fighter and a more the reach advantage was bigger for Devin Haney, but it wasn't that much bigger where George Cambosos couldn't do as much. I feel like he wasn't, pressing the action. He wasn't, getting in his face like he was against Teofimo Lopez. And I think that a lot has to do with that jab, man. That jab keeps you honest. That's an old saying in boxing. The jab keeps you honest. And so I just feel like at the end of the day, that's what happened. The jab kept George Cambosos honest,
I mean, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, too, the way I look at it, bro, there's nothing wrong with saying I lost to the better man and I'm going to be better next time. I'm going to correct the mistakes I made, but tonight wasn't my night. But to sit there and try and say the fight was close, that you hurt the guy, it just, I don't know, it just sounded ridiculous, bro. And then you're saying the referee kind of let him get away with things. Like, dude, you were the guy that was getting him in arm locks, bro. You were getting frustrated in there, man. So do you want a rematch? Are you excited at all for a rematch, or do you think it's ridiculous for them to even have a rematch?
So a rematch, in my eyes, you guys, the more I think about it, I could see where, George Cambosos could probably, try to edge a couple of those rounds. But he's got to be more active. He's got to be more active. He's got to know that I'm going to get stung with that jab at least once. You know what I mean? But there's not a 1-2 coming behind that, just the jab, And I feel like in the first 2 to 3 rounds, George Camboso was taking chances. George Camboso stung Devin Haney in the second round. I think it was the best punch of the fight for George Cambosos. Caught him coming in, timed it perfectly, a la Manny Pacquiao, shorter arms, and was able to time the timing that Manny Pacquiao had. What made him different, and him being able to go in and out of shots with the reach advantage always being against him. You know what I mean? And he was able to, shorten that gap when it came to boxing and when it came to Manny Pacquiao style. And George Camboso was in many camps with Manny Pacquiao. And I think that maybe Manny Pacquiao should come back and maybe help George Camboso in his second fight, man, because he's going to need it. Okay. George Cambosos, I think his dad is just not getting it done. I'm not knocking his dad at all. His dad was ready to fight Teofimo Lopez's father at any given time. So I'm not knocking him at all. But when it comes to this thing we call boxing, skills pay the bills. And Devin Haney, and from what we've seen in the first fight, is maybe light years ahead of George Cambosos, and maybe that's a push, but I'm just saying I didn't see too much in George Cambosos where he was, winning the fight. I just couldn't remember in too many instances in this fight last night where George Cambosos was winning the fight. Joe, I think he was down from round 2 or 3 maybe 3 or 4 on up. You know, I don't think it was a close fight after that. I think Devin Haney pretty much put it in cruise control with the jab, and that pretty much, you know, I feel like George Kambosos was content with just getting, you know, jabbed to death, you know, and it's like, dude, come on, just, you know, make initiative, you know, this is what won you the Teofimo Lopez fights. This is what edged you out in the Mickey Bay fights, you know. Your activeness, you know, your awareness of you being down maybe, or it being a close fight and you being able to edge it out at the end of the fight. You know, right now I didn't see any of that last night. I didn't see any of that with George Kambosos. You know, George Kambosos showed me he was able to just survive for 12 rounds. You know, Devin Haney said in a post-fight interview, he said I could have smashed the gas. He said, but I was cool with what I was doing. You know, he said I could have went even harder than what I did. He said that. So I was like, you know what, man? At the end of the day, man, you guys got to understand, man, skills pay the bills. And Devin Haney said in the post-fight press conference, he said, don't think because the right side of my face is lumped up that he did that. That was a headbutt. So he goes as far, Devin Haney goes as far as to not give George Kambosos credit, as to not even say he lumped my face up. Like, this is not even from a punch. This is from a headbutt, you know? So, you know, Devin Haney he had an A+ performance, man. He had an A+ performance. I don't give those out a lot. I damn sure didn't give it to Tank for his last fight because he let Rolly hit him, I think, a little bit too much. But I give Devin Haney A+ performance because he really showed me that he can dig deep and he can stick to the game plan. You know, even though George Kambosos was hitting him at times and ruffling his feathers, you know, he didn't waver. He didn't waver. Some fighters might panic. George Kambosos is, you know, because George Kambosos had his flurries in the fight. You know, he didn't have a whole lot, but he had his flurries, you know, where he would, you know, maybe hit with a 1-2 and, you know, maybe follow it up with a, you know, 3-4-5. And it was just like, you know, but after that, it was like, what the hell are we looking at? You know, it was like a sparring session, I feel like, at sometimes in this fight, Beebs.
Let's go down the list of guys at lightweight, and I'm going to ask you if you would pick George Kambosos to beat these guys. Obviously, I don't think you'd pick him to beat Devin Haney, right? That's a given. Vasily Lomachenko, do you think Kambosos can beat him?
No.
Would you pick him over Isaac Cruz?
Tough fight.
Gun to your head, who you picking?
Tough fight, though. Damn. Cruz.
Gervonta Davis.
Gervonta, knockout.
Ryan Garcia.
Tough fight.
Long guy, tall, long jab.
Tough fight, man. Damn, that's a good one right there. That's a good one. That's a really good one, though. I'm gonna have to go with Ryan on that one. That's tough, though. That's really tough, though. Super tough. And that's that. And the only reason why I'm picking Ryan on that fight is because that's right now, Ryan. If Ryan gets in there with Tank and Tank does what I think he can do to Ryan, I don't think he'll be the same. So this is the good Ryan. This is the Ryan before he had any wars, or this is the Ryan before he's got in with any of the top guys. This is the Ryan right now. I think he could possibly edge him. I think that would have been a better fight than throwing Ryan in there with Tank.
George Kambosos versus Joseph Diaz Jr. Who do you got there?
I got Kambosos.
George Kambosos versus Richard Comby. Who you got there?
Kambosos. He can edge out those close fights.
What about Javier Fortuna?
And Comey always finds a way to lose those close fights.
What about Javier Fortuna?
I'm going to save my opinion till after he fights Ryan Garcia.
Gun to your head, you got to make a pick. We're at Prediction League. I'm taking Fortuna.
I'm going to take Kambosos on that one.
Now, all these fights that you're picking Cambosos in, you still I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're still saying to yourself, these fights are close. Like you can't definitively pick George Kambosos over anyone here in the top 10, can you?
Because he's always in close fights. He was in a close fight with a 35-year-old Mickey Bay. He was in a close fight with him.
And Lee Selby too. And this is what I said before the fight. And let me ask you this, man. I'm gonna sound like the biggest hater, the biggest asshole on 2 feet. But I'm gonna fucking say it because I'm gonna fucking stick it to these fucking Cambosos Cape boys over here. I'm gonna twist the knife right now because these guys are aggravating me a little bit because with their fanboy crap.
I ain't even reading the chat, yo. Are they going in the chat?
Yeah, they're being there's like 2 guys really being goofy in there, right? I won't fuck with them a little bit. In your opinion, is George Kambosos a one-hit wonder? I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes.
These are some good questions.
We just
Where
went down.
All these questions from, bro. These are really good questions tonight.
We just went down. We just went down the list of the top 10 light heavyweights in the division, and we had George Kambosos losing to 7 of them, and the 3 that you had him winning, you said they were close, tough fights. So
did you agree with me? Did you have the same predictions?
I think he would edge out Jojo Diaz. I think Fortuna would beat him. I think he would edge out Comey. So I have him beating 8 of these guys. 8 of the top 10. I have him.
So you got Comey losing to Kambosos.
I have Comey losing, but I think Comey's right hand. That's like a 55.
But that's only one time I think he could weather that storm. I think Kambosos could weather that storm. He's got heart. If he ain't got anything else, he's got heart. Yeah, he showed us that in the Teofimo Lopez fight. Yeah. But what does that show you about Teofimo Lopez?
Like I said, man, I talked about this earlier.
About it for a second. He was like, "Hold on,
no. I want to go back to what I said earlier about Teofimo Lopez. I've lost all faith in Teofimo Lopez as a fighter, and I told you this before. I question whether he can ever become a world champion again because he's shown weakness mentally. There's always something going on in the background that he allows to affect his performance in the ring. He's 24 years old now. If he cannot correct that, I can't pick Teofimo Lopez over anybody.
Yeah,
unless it's like kind of like a really one-sided, like unless he's fighting a really lower level guy. I can't pick Teofimo Lopez over Regis Prograis right now. I can't pick him over Cepeda right now. I can't pick him over Josh Taylor right now. Not knowing that he has this emotional baggage and knowing how delusional he is. I still don't. I think the more and more I hear him talk in interviews, the more and more I see him tweet, the more and more I see him tweet, the more fucked up in the head I think he is, with all due respect. So I have no confidence I have no confidence in Teofimo Lopez.
Did you see his dad? I just watched the epilogue today. I watched the epilogue today. You guys, I'm drinking my protein shake. I didn't want to have it on air, so but yeah, I watched the epilogue today. And I seen where Rolly Ramiro's father, when was being consoled by Teofimo Lopez's father, he was Rolly Ramiro's father. I read it in caption. He said, leave me the fuck alone. Like he was like, get off me. Like in the heat of the battle, Rolly Ramiro's dad did not want Teofimo's father near him. Like, get away from me. And I thought that was big because they were supposed to be, Rolly and Teo were supposed to be best friends. And the two fathers are completely different. I respect Rolly Ramiro's father. I mean, Teofimo Lopez's father is just sometimes he goes left on me, man.
So that's kind of crazy, man. So so he's like, get the fuck off me, man.
He said, get the fuck off me. I watched the epilogue today. It dropped 7 hours ago on Showtime on YouTube, wow. 30 minutes. And it showed a lot. It showed that Rolly Ramiro's family was very, very emotional, man. Very emotional after that fight, man. First career loss, first devastating loss. And Rolly didn't skip a beat. Rolly went straight into the press conference and said, I want a rematch. So it's like Rolly was just out of control. He didn't have any fear. I respect that about Rolly, man. I really do, man. I respect that about Rolly. And he didn't have any fear, man. But fear, like they say, fear can get you killed. You know what I mean? For real. So it's like, you gotta just know how to, balance both of those. And I think Rolly will learn a lot from this. He, like I said, he only had 14 fights leading up into that fight, I believe, or 15 fights. And he didn't have that many fights. Gervonta Davis was a seasoned veteran at this point, and he's been in the big fights, and I think Rolly, could maybe learn a lot. And then I showed a lot about Rolly Romero's trainer, man. He was all tough in all of the lead up to that fight. And he showed a lot of emotion, man. That dude broke down and started crying, Beebs, in that fight, man. I mean, in the epilogue, man. He was crying about the Rolly loss, man. He really was.
Who the trainer was?
The trainer of Rolly Romero was in a corner, and Showtime got him being so emotional that he started crying, man. He was like, man, I thought he could do so much better than that. Like, I thought he could do so much better than that, and Rolly's in the background just looking in the mirror, looking at himself like a shell of himself, like just looking in the mirror, and his trainer's like sitting down on the chair, and he's just bawling. He's just bawling. And I've never seen his coach emotional, ever. Never.
Not like that, bro.
No, never, not once. And mind you, there are no relation. You normally see that of fathers and sons and, stuff like that. This is a trainer. This was Rolly Romero's head trainer. I forgot his name. I can't remember his name right off the top.
Bullet. They call him Bullet.
Yeah, his name was Bullet. I can't, so. And he was very emotional, man. He was very emotional. I think that I think he really thought his fighter could win that fight. I mean, it's I gave Rolly about a 30% chance of winning that fight at best.
I gave him a 15.
Yeah, 30 was pushing it. You know what I mean? That was on the Corey Lee boxing meter, you guys. That was pushing it. But Rolly Romero's a good kid. I think he can learn a lot from this. I think he definitely needs to humble himself a little bit. And I think this did. I think this humbled him. And but then again, it's like, did it humble him? Because he went in a press conference and said, I want an immediate rematch. I got caught with a lucky punch. I got caught with a punch, Shout out to Suleiman in the chat. Go ahead, Beebs.
Says Team Haney has a contract. They have to give rematch in Australia unless they want to pay step-aside money to Cambosos. He makes a great point. Will they possibly give Kambosos step aside money, and should he take it? Because it seems like Top Rank really wants to have Lomachenko fight the winner of wants to have Lomachenko fight Devin Haney here.
I think that was in the contract. I think it was a 3-fight deal. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure, but
yeah, I think it's a 3-fight deal.
I think Lomachenko's somewhere in the mix of this. I'm just don't quote me on that, you guys. I'm just saying. Go ahead, B.
It's interesting you say that because I read an article earlier in the week, and it said that Todd DeBuff from Top Rank was talking to Lomachenko, and he was asking him if he wanted to fight the winner of this fight.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting to read that article. So
I didn't hear that article.
Yeah, it just speaks to your point. Was there some type of stipulation in the contract?
I'm being honest, no, and the reason why I'm saying that is because Lou DiBella and Top Rank, Bob Arum were just as happy as shit when Devin Haney came and won that belt, and they was like, hey, come over here, champ, come sit beside us, and I'm like, damn, your fighter just lost. Like, why are y'all acting like that to Devin Haney? And it's something behind that, man. There
is something behind that, and I'll tell you.
See, me and B, we break shit down for real, man. We really do.
Not only does Top Rank have options on Devin Haney, I heard, and I could be wrong here, but I think I'm right. Lou DiBella also has options on Devin Haney as well. I think they're both co-promoting Devin Haney for these next 2 fights.
Damn.
Right?
Oh.
So that's why DiBella was so, buddy.
Why is this dude? This doesn't even sound right. DiBella, this doesn't even look right.
DiBella, in order to make this deal, Haney had to not only give up options to Bob Arum, but I believe he also had to give up options to Lou DiBella. So this is like a co-promotion thing. So regardless of who Devin Haney fights next, both guys have a financial interest in it. So they don't give a fuck. I don't think Lou DiBella really gives two fucks if he fights fucking Cambosos next. I'm gonna be honest. I have a feeling the next fight for Devin Haney is gonna be Lomachenko, and I think they're gonna either give Cambosos some step aside, or if there's something in the contract that stipulates that Lomachenko could slip in the back door here somehow. I think that that could be next. Suleiman comes out and says there's a tremendous double standard here with Kambosos. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fought 3 times. No, not necessarily. Not that. Yo, let's be honest though. Let's be honest. We're not going to be Monday morning quarterbacks here.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
We're not. Did either you or I really want a third Wilder Fury fight? Were we calling for that, or did we say that wasn't needed?
For the third Wilder fight, if it happened, it happened. I wasn't.
No one wanted to see that fight. Now, here's the difference. We always know.
But I was like, who else is he gonna fight too, though? I mean, that's at that point,
But here's the difference.
Joshua and Usyk had that thing.
But here's the difference. In 21 fights, George Kambosos has 10 knockouts. Deontay Wilder.
Oh yeah.
Deontay Wilder always had that puncher's chance, and he proved that he had that puncher's chance in the third fight when he knocked him down twice.
Yeah.
Kambosos doesn't have a puncher's chance against Devin Haney because he's not a big puncher.
You don't think so?
So? He's got 10 knockouts, bro.
All right.
He hit Teofimo Lopez with his money punch, and Teofimo Lopez got up like it was nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
So
you're right.
I don't think there is a double standard because people were just as critical of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury fighting for a third time as they are with this. We can't keep playing the game of whataboutisms, right? Like, why not just say that both situations were kind of not great, right? Why do we have to say, oh, well, because if we're going to continue to try to justify things by playing the whataboutism game, then shit's going to always be fucked up, right? Let's be honest. But the one thing you could say about Wilder is he always had that puncher's chance. Kambosos never does, in my opinion. He ain't knocking out Devin Haney with one shot. I mean, anything can happen in the sport of boxing, but the chances of that happening are slim and none. And Slim just left the building. I knew you'd like that one. I had to slip that one in there.
Yo, that was wild, B. When the fuck did you? I haven't heard that in a while, man.
You like that one, huh?
Give it up to Beeves, man, for the one-liners, y'all, man. Golly, man.
That's hilarious.
You got me on that one, man. I know you guys at home were like, Corey, come on, man. It wasn't that funny, man. But it was. You got to know the guy Beeves, man. Beeves is a legend. So you were pretty much saying, like, what is Devin? So you pretty much were saying, should we be having a rematch? That's pretty much what you were getting at.
Listen, if he had it in his contract, he had it in his contract. I'm not, again.
But do you want to see a rematch?
I just put it in the poll. No, I don't want to see a rematch.
What did the poll say? What's the tallies? What's the
90% don't want the rematch, 10% do.
Damn, for real?
So there's like 3 Kambosos fans in here that want to see the rematch.
They're lurking. They're in there somewhere. They're in there. Damn, only 10% want to see a rematch?
Yeah.
Damn. And Slim just left the building.
Man. I mean, again, I wasn't crazy about the third Fury Wilder fight either. But once again, at least you had that element of Wilder could land that one punch and turn the fight, and he almost did. He knocked him down twice in what round was it? The third round there in that fight.
I think it was like the third round.
I think it was the third or fourth round. I can't remember. I think it was the third. But Kambosos don't have that one punch knockout power. He doesn't. He doesn't. So, but There's one guy that does have that knockout power, and I think either his wife or he's in the chat right now, and that's Inoue-Donaire. We know that not only with that left hook, but he's shown.
His wife's in the chat.
I think so. I think that's their YouTube channel. So shout out
Shout
to
out to Inoue-Donaire and his
shout
wife.
out to Nonito and Rachel. They don't remember me, but I've talked to both of them on the phone before. I've interviewed Nonito a couple times, and I'm a huge Nonito fan, and I'm gonna wish him luck going into his fight with Inoue, man. Yeah, with Inoue.
But they showed me a lot. He showed me a lot. Nonito-Donaire showed me a lot
now,
in that first fight.
That fight
deserves a rematch.
That fight deserves a rematch.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me if Inoue-Donaire deserves a rematch.
That's a good rematch. That's a good rematch.
That was a competitive fight.
That's a good rematch.
I had it close.
Example too.
I had Inoue edging it out like 7 rounds to 5, but again, it was close. Nonito hurt him. He's shown that he could hurt him. It was a close fight. So that fight deserves a rematch. I'm not gonna argue against that. And again, I'm not hating on George Kambosos. If he wants to fight him again, he has the right. I mean, it was in the contract. I'm just not a big fan of these rematch clauses. Now, going back to that Donaire Inoue fight, if the fight is good enough, then people are going to want to see it again. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of people in Japan, a lot of people on ESPN Plus they're gonna watch this rematch with Inoue-Donaire and Inoue. They're going to do it. So at the end of the day, that's a fight that I think people are going to be up for. That people are going to be excited for. And I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning anyways to go to work. So I'll be watching that fight on my phone with my ESPN Plus app. So shout out to ESPN
So what
Plus.
time does it come on, Beats? Let me know.
The card starts, I think, at 5 in the morning. I'm guessing that fight may come on about 7:30ish, 7:30ish, if I'm being honest.
That's when you know you're a diehard fan, because I've done that for Inoue-Donaire's. I've done that for Inoue's fights before. I feel like he's repeatedly had 5 a.m. fights or 7 a.m. fights. And I feel like this is not the first time this has happened. I remember watching one of his other fights where he was fighting in a lighter weight division, and I think it was against Hayes or something. But he was fighting against one of the former champions. He was a veteran, and Inoue-Donaire wound up knocking him out in like 2 rounds. But it was like 7 in the morning when I had to watch him fight. So you saying this one's gonna be 7 in the morning, Tuesday morning at 7 in the morning? Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay. You gonna be watching it? You gonna do it live?
I don't think I'll be doing it live, but I'll be watching it. Hey, yo, is this?
You're not gonna do it live, man? That's a good fight, man.
Nah,
man. You're not showing the respect to the little guys, man.
Come on, bro. You ain't gonna be doing it live. You'll be sleeping. You live.
Yeah, I might be up. That's what I'm saying.
Stop fronting. Yo, is this Inoue-Donaire and Rachel Donaire's channel right here?
Beyond the Ring with Nonito and Rachel. I don't know. It might be. I've never checked their channel out, man. We have to check.
I never checked them out. I'm on subscribe to this channel. I want to see what's up.
Yeah, you guys go subscribe to Beyond the Ring with Nonito and Rachel.
Yeah,
if that's the channel. Shout out to them, man. They got a awesome thing going with the kids and stuff. Yeah, I know Nonito's got a couple kids, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, I guess that is their channel.
Yeah, they probably got their kids on there. Kid friendly. I'm guessing it's kid friendly. I'm not saying bring your kids.
Yeah, this is them, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it is them. They got a big family though.
I just subscribed to them. Yeah. Yeah, they got a beautiful family, man. They got videos with the kids and stuff, man. Like I said, I'm a big Inoue-Donaire fan, man. So
I like Nonito. I like everything he stands for. He's an awesome guy, awesome fighter. He's just a humble dude, man. The Flash, right?
The Filipino Flash,
yeah.
He was in the top 3 pound for pounders back in the day too, man.
If he can get this win over Inoue, man, if he could get this win over Inoue, man, I think I'm
gonna drop this link in the chat, man. If he wants to come on and just kind of talk about his fight, I know it's fight week. I know he's probably busy or whatever. But if either him or Rachel want to jump on, they could
Shout out to them, man.
They could
Shout
jump
out
on
to
and,
the
and,
crew.
and talk about it. Even if Rachel wants to jump on, she's welcome to click the link and jump on and talk about the fight with Inoue if she wants.
That's a big fight, man. That's a big
Yeah.
fight, man.
That's a big fight, bro.
man. Huge fight, mega fight, man. It's huge. I was it in Japan, right?
It's gonna be in Japan, bro.
Japan. Okay.
And that's
Where
another
are you
thing, man.
Japan?
Going in your opponent's backyard. And
What part of Japan?
I would have to look that up, my friend.
Okay.
You give me a geography lesson here,
Nah,
man.
hey, come on, B.
What's going on, man? You're giving me a geography lesson.
Hey, man, Japan's big. Shout out to Japan, though, man. It's it's an awesome country from what I heard, and they take their boxing pretty seriously, and they're quiet as shit in their crowd. You never noticed that, Beeves? The crowd noise is pretty quiet.
Yeah, because they
when they're
get
watching fights out there.
so they're gonna be in Saitama, Japan.
Saitama, Japan.
Super Arena in Saitama, Japan, bro.
Saitama, Japan. Okay. Wow. Shout out to everybody that's from out there. And man, that's gonna be a big fight, Beebs. I mean, who you got edging that fight out, man? Who you got? Break that fight down for me, man. If you don't mind. I mean, I know their wife's possibly watching, but it's like
I don't want to. Here's the thing, man.
Okay.
Because I like Inoue-Donaire a lot. I've interviewed him a few times. I think him and Rachel are great people. I don't want to put any negative karma on them. I think it's a pick'em fight. I think that either guy could win. So I don't because they're in the chat. I don't want to pick a winner. I wish them the best going forward. I think it's going to be
this might be a first, Joe. This might be a first, Joe. That I've ever asked B for a prediction that he didn't give it to me.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to put any negative karma. You know what I'm saying? When that's one thing, man. If I'm biased towards someone, like I don't want to make a pick, man. Because then you could sit there and say, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'll be rooting for Inoue-Donaire, man, because he's a legend. Great story. Because he's a legend, man.
Great comeback story, man. Great comeback story. But I think Nonito took a lot of punishment in that first fight. I'm gonna just be honest. If I gotta break it down, I think he took a lot of punishment, and I think that this fight leading forward, I think that he has to, definitely watch how many times he gets hit like that. He cannot take too many of those hits again the way he did in the first fight. I don't believe, and I don't think it is good for him in his career, to take hits like that. And I know he likes to work on his defense. I know he's a really defensive, responsible type of fighter, but he got hit a lot, man. And this is later in his career. And for him and his trainer and stuff like that and his family, I just think that he needs to be very defensively responsible because the Inoue has a very big punch. He's a very, very powerful puncher. And he can end you at any time. I mean, we've seen that in countless times. He's the most powerful puncher, I believe, pound for pound in the world, maybe right now. So he's a very, very dangerous fighter. And Inoue-Donaire is up there in age right now. And I think he needs to be very, very, elusive in this fight. And he doesn't need to take a whole lot of punches and punishment from Inoue, man. I think we need to definitely zoom in on that. If he's taking too much punishment,
Rachel wants to know what punishment he took.
He was taking a lot of punishment in that first fight, man. He was taking some blows straight to the face, and I was like, "Wow, man." He was though. I mean, he was.
It was a competitive. It was a competitive fight.
It was a competitive fight, though.
It was a competitive fight, and
But I just don't want to see him later in his career take punches like that. He was getting hit. He was stunned. She said, "What punishment?" It got ugly in there. If you remember the fight that I remember, if we need to play that back, it got ugly in there.
Let's again, I'd love for her to come on and kind of
it got ugly in there, B.
I'd love for her to come on. I'd love for her to come on and challenge you on that.
It got up.
I had
Did you just
I mean, she made a good point, man. She's making a good
Did
point.
you just come, yo?
Look what she said. Look what she said to you. She goes, interesting. Nonito didn't have a cracked face though. So
He's a
let's
wild dude, man.
let's take. I mean, I had Inoue winning the fight 7-5, but once
That's
again,
what I was saying. I thought you picked Inoue to win that fight. Didn't you? Didn't you? think
Rachel's
he won
gonna
that fight?
Rachel's gonna come on. She wants to talk to you.
Yo.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm good. I had to walk out of the room. Nonito doesn't like a lot of noise right now.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to put any negative energy in the camp, so that's why I don't want to make a prediction out of respect for Nonito and respect for yourself. But what do you think of the comment of Nonito took a lot of damage in that fight? Because I thought it was a lot of give and take from both guys, if I'm being honest.
Honestly, we went to the ER. We made sure that everything was fine. There was no fractures. There was not even a hairline fracture. He wasn't pissing blood. So did he take punches? Yes, he did. He was stupid. He didn't have a game plan then. For whatever reasons in the camp, possibly because we had two coaches then. We had Kenny Adams from 8 to 4 weeks, and then we had Senior from 4 to 0. Two coaches talking in the corner, two different languages, both very amazing trainers, but weren't on the same page. It was a little bit confusing. And I honestly wasn't part of that game plan. Just a straight out game plan. Nonito went in there because he thought he could take him out with one punch, which, changes the fight a lot of the times for Nonito. And we've seen it time and time again. Nonito has fallen in love with his power. We've brought it back. We've settled him back down. He has a lot of arsenals. He's had a great amateur record. And just reminding him what his fundamentals are and what boxing and the science is, right? We've seen it. I mean, we've even seen it with someone like Canelo, who falls in love with that one punch, and they forgot what was boxing, what is boxing, and how did they come up into the game back then. And it wasn't, that one punch knockout back then, not when they were younger, not when they were, boxing and framing punches and throwing the jabs and setting up punches. There comes just a time where you just love those knockout reels, and you love that one punch that changes the fight. And unfortunately, when you start to fall in love with something, that becomes your bread and butter. So that was the mistake that we made. But I just, like when we say like, okay, the damage, I'm asking about the damage because Inoue walked out with a cracked orbital bone and a broken nose.
Yeah. So,
good point.
so will there only is there going to be one voice in the corner this time? Is it going to be Senior, or who is it going to be in directing traffic in the corner this time around?
So Senior actually has he had knee surgery, a full knee replacement in April.
Wow.
He was supposed to be scheduled for February, but it got pushed to April for whatever reason. So he can't walk. He's not here. I've been in contact with him numerous times, but ever since the pandemic, it kind of, for some families, it was very rough. For me and Nonito, it was more of a focus base. We had the kids at home. We didn't have to bring anyone to school. We couldn't go to the gym. So we had those hard discussions. And I'm one of those people, if you watch the fight back, when Nonito hurt Inoue with that overhand and Inoue was grabbing, I'm the only one, if you hear it, that I'm telling him to jab. And I'm telling him to set it up, like not to be hasty with throwing haymakers, try to get him out. When things go tough, Nonito looks at me. And so when it came to the COVID pandemic, when everyone was locked in the house, and it was shortly after the Inoue fight. After the Inoue fight, right when we got back to the dressing room, he told me and he told Richard that he wants the rematch. And so, Richard and I had to move and place things to where he would be able to have a standing on why he should have that rematch, which led to first the Rodriguez fight, which fell out, and then the Ubali fight in May. So we talked about it, and we talked about it, and we talked about it, and we watched tapes, and I showed him things, and I said, what about this? And we tried in the gym, and then we do it again, and we do it again, and we do it again. Came to the point where the Ubali fight, we were in the Ubali fight. We had trained for so long, and we basically, he told the corner, I think between the third and fourth, he told the corner, James Michael Basil, who's been with us since 2009, and Tony Diaz. Everyone gets excited, and he told him, he was like, be quiet. I only want to hear her. Now, whether
Yeah.
that's a scientific thing,
Wow.
we haven't figured this out, but some people had noted that there are a lot of male voices within the crowd, within the corner, the ref, everyone, right? My voice is different because it's a different frequency, it's a higher pitch. He can hear me where he can't hear anyone else. Everyone else is drowned. It's monotone. Everyone's the same. So
Wow.
when I say something to him, he can hear. That's not something that we were like, oh, scientifically, you'll be able to hear me. It's just something that happens. So
Well,
I'll be the only voice in the corner.
yeah, I mean, you can also make an argument, and again, I don't want to put words or have any preconceived notions, but you can make an argument that maybe he trusts you more than anyone else in the world, and that's why your voice is so important to him. You can even argue that maybe your voice is at this time in his life is even more poignant than his dad's voice, right? Because you've been there from the beginning. You not only help him with his training, but you've managed him and helped guide his career. And there's been times when Senior couldn't be there, but you were always there. And I think maybe that is, stays in his mind. And I think that could be the impact that you do have. One thing that I have mentioned about Nonito is obviously he's been known for that big left hook, but as you said, the right hand has become a really good weapon as of late. And one thing that I do like that he's been doing, you mentioned the jab, but another thing that he's also done is kind of feinted and sold that left hook, but shoots the right hand lead. And I think even in the Ubali fight, that was beautifully set up. And the jab wasn't always needed. Now, obviously, it's good to mix that jab in there, but is that something that you think he's kind of brought to the table here? Is the feint game and throwing that sneaky right hand lead to set up the left hook, where before he would kind of wait for guys to come forward and throw that counter left hook? I think in the Ubali fight, and obviously in the first Inoue fight, we saw that right hand was doing significant damage. But is that something that you think is going to be a key element to this rematch as well?
I do think so. Like as you guys have noticed, like in the Ubali fight, it was different. I wanted him to cut off the ring. I wanted him to. We actually were setting up an uppercut for Ubali, but the thing is that we had to adjust in the middle of the fight because Ubali was actually, his upper body was leaning back further than what I had perceived it to be when we were studying the tapes before. But I had told him to not throw it. I was like, don't throw the freaking left hook. I was like, that's what they're going to look for. I was like, so
Yeah.
don't throw it. I was like, make them forget about it. They're going to, the thing is that boxing in 12 rounds is you have to stay focused onto the game plan. Most fighters can't stay on that game plan to be defensively aware for 12 rounds. They will forget because they fall in, every fighter falls into a pattern. You fall into a pattern. You do the same thing that you do every day because it's your habit. So
Mhm.
what I like to do is I like to look at the things that become habits, things that you don't even know that you're doing and you do automatically because it's ingrained into your fundamentals. Now there are strengths in your fundamentals and there's also weaknesses in the fundamentals, but once your body gets tired, it will always fall back to what you know naturally. So
Yeah.
with the Ubali fight, that was something that we had walked down. I was like, everybody knows about your left hook. It's not a secret. So let's make them forget about it for a little bit. And with the Gaballo fight, it was the same thing. The thing with the Gaballo is he's never come with a high guard, and he did this fight. He even said in the press conference, we're protecting against the left hook. That's why his guard was so high. Unfortunately for him, with that high of a guard and not really bending into to catch any of their other shots, so concerned about his face that he left his body open. And we had worked on that with, Angelo Leo. We had different sparring partners that one. We even had Tomoki Kameda. They
Wow.
were both sparring at the same time. And it was to be a fly on the wall with him and Kameda was amazing. Amazing. But that sparring really led up to, if you watch the Gaballo fight, the boys, my sons, were in the gym and they knew we were working on that body shot. And that's why you heard, I don't know if it was Jarrell Logan. I want to say it was Jarrell, the oldest. And he said, he's like, body shot, Papa. And within how many, maybe 30 seconds, that's when he dropped Gaballo to the body. But he had been working on that, since the second round on.
So everyone is involved in the camp, so to speak. Even the children they have an input in what goes on in the camp, so to speak. So this is kind of like a total family affair. Obviously, I don't want to ask you to give away the strategy, but it seems like you're leaning towards more of a tactical fight and less of a shootout this time around. Is that safe to say that maybe we're going to see a different Donaire? Are we going to see a more tactical, more poised Donaire who maybe not might be as aggressive as he was in the first fight? Or are we going to kind of see a mix of both styles?
I would say that you would see a mix of both styles, because the fact is that, when we've talked through it a bunch of times of his fundamentals and what made him who he was. And it wasn't going out there and, blowing through competition, throwing big bombs. It was setting it up. To be a counterpuncher, you have to be able to draw in that fighter to get that counterpunch. You can't counterpunch if they're not going to actually come in and throw punches and leave themselves open for certain shots. So it's going to be a mix of both, because I feel like Inoue is going to want to brawl at some point. He's in front of his home base. He's in front of his hometown. The crowd is, of course, leaning towards his side. And so I think he's going to be wanting to put on a show. And considering after that fight, that's the first, they were supposed to count him out after 4 rounds. Nonito knew that. He was like, yeah, I'm on the underdog again. Under 4 rounds, that's what they said I would last. He lasted 12, and ever since then, he fought a Maloney, which went to 8. Das Marinas was a mandatory, which was 2. And then the tune-up fight, or the stay busy fight, was Daipan, and that took him another 8. So it's interesting to see how when he, in the WBSS series, he was killing everyone in 4. And all of a sudden you do 12 with Nonito, and now the fights are getting longer for some weird reason.
Do you think that has something to do with Inoue-Donaire taking something out of him? Do you think that maybe because he suffered damage in the Donaire fight, that maybe there's not as much left in there? And do you think he's more concerned about being a little more defensively responsible? Because it's like when you touch the hot stove, you don't want to touch it again. Do you think it's more of a case of that? Or do you just think that he's trying to add a new wrinkle to his game? How do you assess that?
Well, I know that the fight was in November of 2019. I know he tried to go back into the gym at late January, and he didn't. He went into the gym and said he wasn't ready to come back. Now, whether that meant that his face hurt or not, I don't know. But I do think when he looks in the mirror every single morning, and there's a difference in his face from before he met Nonito and now, I think that plays a psychological aspect, because now it doesn't look the same. His eyes are not the same size anymore. And the only person to do that to him was Nonito.
Yeah. So you think that possibly that Nonito will have the psychological edge in this fight because of that? And do you think that may play on his mind going into this rematch?
Yes, I think he's been a lot more careful about getting hit. I think he's wary because there's already damage there. There's scar tissue that's built upon it. I don't believe he's had surgery on it to correct it, and that's kind of why his eye had, healed in the way that it did, instead of getting the surgery and then, having it strengthened instead of how it's healed right now. Any more damage to that eye is going to further lopsize the eye
Yeah.
that was damaged in that fight. And I feel like because it was just so comfortable for him to walk through opponents, and the one that everyone thought, like, hey, dude, he's at that time he was 37. He was like, there's this should be a passing of the torch, and it wasn't what was planned. It wasn't what he thought it was going to be. I think coming through adversity, and we see this a lot with a lot of the young fighters, they don't know how to overcome adversity, and mind games play. They wonder. We see it with Teofimo Lopez. We see it with a bunch of the young fighters that lose, that there was so much on this hype and something stops them and they don't know how to come back. It's an interesting thing because I think 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation because there wasn't social media. But with social media these days, we see what these fighters are thinking. We see how they act, and their movements after, and we can determine how they're feeling and why. And I honestly believe like there is a difference in adversity when you have adversity and you can overcome it, or if it actually tears you down.
So, talking about the social media, do you and Nonito make a point when there's a fight of this magnitude, scheduled? Do you try to stay off social media, or how do you navigate through that leading up to a big fight like this?
So for me, Nonito, we've tried to do social media. We do our best to really stay on it, but literally half the time, like I totally forget that we haven't posted for a couple days and stuff like that. Nonito stays off social media completely. His phone's already given to me, so anyone who texts or calls or tags him on social media, he doesn't see. He has another phone that's a dead phone that he can, like, he'll read manga, he'll play video games, but nothing with anyone. For me, I really try to keep myself busy, but it's really difficult because as his wife and as his head coach and his manager, I'm here all the time. So for me, being in like this kind of bubble, for example, yesterday I had to go and do the laundry. He was texting me after an hour. He's like, "What time are you coming back?" And I'm like, "I've been gone for an hour, dude. Like, calm down." Do you know how much laundry that you have? you know? But like I thrive for those breaks, and I honestly want human connection. And so that's why I come up to the streams and I talk it out, because I can't talk to him 20. First of all, it's too early. Like, I mean, first we came here a week and a half ago. We were in quarantine for 48 hours, which was fine, but he walking out from the airport, he wasn't expecting there to be that crowd and for there to be media. Now, that kind of played with him because when we got back to the hotel, he was very snappy. And I'm like, "What's up? What's going on?" And he's like, "It's fight week." I was like, "It's not fight week. You still have 2 sparring days, and we're, pretty much a week and a half out from fight week." I was like, "So you need to calm down."
Yeah, he wanted to go now.
Yeah, exactly. Because when we fight in LA, we come maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe sometimes. And, and then it's fight week. So it's game on, where he wasn't expecting this fanfare when we first got here, and the media and stuff, he's posing and he's like, "All right, it's game time." I'm like, no, it's too early. Don't blow your load yet. Like, calm down, and so for me, that's why I snuck out, because I can sneak out to the gym. Like, I'll be like, "Hey, actually, like today, like I was like, I'm going to go to the gym." And he's like, "Oh, I'll come with you." And I'm like, "I don't need you at the gym. I actually want you to stay in the room so I can have alone time and talk shit and be by myself and like away from this, because I can't talk to him yet. And I can't talk openly because I have to be very careful about what I say. Like, anything I say at this point could get my head chopped off for anything. Like I've been through the ringer before. I remember one time we were fighting in Carson. We got from the weigh-ins. There was 2 vans. He got into the wrong van and they went to the wrong location. I'm sitting at Olive Garden. His food's at the table. I'm waiting. He comes in with his security and it's beelines to me. And he's like, what the hell? Blah, blah, blah. Why did I get in the wrong van? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, dude, it's not even my fault. I was like, they're the ones who put you in the wrong van. I was like, so why are you yelling at me? Go yell at the big guys behind you. But
But you're the manager though, so he's
You're the manager, though.
he's
You're
used
the
to he's
manager,
used to
right?
leaning on you for stuff
Rachel,
like
you're the manager.
that.
yeah, I know. Well, actually, at that time, I was still co-managing with Cameron Duncan, but
Oh, okay,
like
okay.
it was, but like literally, like what was the other thing he asked me about? He asked me about something today. He was like, "Where's this pad or something?" And I was like, "Where'd you leave it?" He was
Yeah.
like, "I put it right here," and I was like, "Are you sure you put it right there?" And he's like, "I swear I put it right here." And I go, "So why is it over here on this table?" He's like, "I don't fucking know. Just give me the goddamn pad." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah.
Like,
Like he said, it's fight week, man. He sounds like he's chomping at the bits and he's ready, man. I mean,
yeah, and I'm the one, and like, listen, like the one thing that I don't care about is that I just have to be, it, I have to be, I have to have my outlet, right? Because I'm taking heat. So, like, I have to bite my tongue a lot, and I don't bite my tongue when I'm at the house. Like, I'm like, nope, you did this, and that, but I can't do that right now. So when he goes, like, he just trained. He was in the bedroom, butt ass naked. And then he goes, "Where's my underwear?" I was like, "Where did you put your underwear?" He's like, "I don't know." And I was like,
wow.
"All right, hold on." And I went into the living room, grabbed an underwear, and gave him an underwear. But for someone like me who's been a fighter before, I completely understand it. I used to bite at everyone, my entire team, when I used to fight. So I get it. There's going to be a lot of apologies after. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to disrespect you like that. But, the excuses come. But the only thing is that I'm not that wife. I'm not the one shopping. I'm not the one going out. I'm here. I'm in the gym. If you need to sit in the sauna, I'll sit with
Yeah,
you and I'll play
yeah,
cards with you. I'll take the heat. And it's only because I remember when I used to have to fight. And I remember like not even being able to do my laundry because I had to cut. And my sister would help me and she would do the laundry for me. And I gave her so much shit when I was cutting weight. So just because I've been there, and most females that have never been in the fight game complain about dieting and they have no idea what cut means or how that feels like. I know what it feels like, so I'll take it, and be done with it. But I do need, like, I just told him, he's like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Going into the other room." He's like, "Why?" I was like, "I'm going on to a stream." And he's like, "All right."
Oh,
But
he's gonna be watching you. He's watching you right now, Rachel.
no,
So
he has the whole team's in the other room, so they're keeping him occupied. But we have that communication. I don't hide it from him, but at the same time, like he understands, like I need to talk to someone other
Yeah.
than where's my underwear.
so speaking of being on live streams, is that why that you guys created the YouTube channel, because you wanted to interact with some of the boxing YouTube channels on here? Is that been something you guys have been making an active attempt at doing recently, or?
Well, so honestly, Nonito's an introvert. So when we interact with fans at events, sometimes they don't understand him. I have anxiety when I get into those damn crowds. Like you'll see me walk away from
Yeah.
Nonito. And it's not because of anything, but I literally have just not social anxiety, but it's more when people, especially fans, are really up in your face and
Yeah.
there's a bunch of them. I can't breathe. I'm like, I feel like you're taking my air. You won't like let me out, right? So this is a better way for us because we have Instagram, we have Twitter, but what we type doesn't ever come across our personality. And so we've used now YouTube where it's like, we could talk to fans, we can go up to live streams, we could debate, and really just show our personality behind the text. Because I feel like whenever we text on Twitter, people take it a different way, whether they're reading it with a tone and there wasn't a tone intended. Um, and just be just allow people to see our personality and who we are without having to be suffocated by, by large crowds or anything like that.
So, how's it been in Japan? Have they welcomed you with open arms? Do you feel like this is kind of like a home away from home now that you're coming back here? Uh, what's the atmosphere like in Japan right now?
Well, first of all, Japan, before we even fought Inoue the first time, his godfather who passed after the big earthquake in Japan, um, had always brought Nonito and I out to Japan. So we've toured Japan before. Everyone was always respectful. Even the first fight, it's really interesting. His godfather used to bring us. Actually, he brought us to a Kometa fight. God, I don't remember what year that was. It might have been 2010. And it was the day after Christmas. And you didn't think, you were like, okay, there's no way there's people coming out to an event the day after Christmas. That thing was sold out, $1,000 ringside tickets. And fans were insane. No one's yelling in the middle of the round. They only clap, they don't boo. So it was always such an interesting experience. And when they did that with Nonito and Inoue, I pretty much expected already because we had seen boxing events here. Totally different. And what I loved about it is that, they're all the fans are really respectful. They're really respectful. But when we landed here, we've been taken care of by Tekken Promotions, Mr. Honda. We've been training and we did 2 sparring days over at Tekken Gym, which is pretty much our home away from home. It was a closed down gym for Nonito. They've taken care of us every single where we went. And there's just something about this culture. Like even Jesse Vargas is here with us, first time in Japan. I've been walking around the streets with him, and he's like, everyone is just so orderly and clean and not, loud, and everyone just seems to know how to act here. And it's just it's refreshing. It's you don't have people pushing and shoving or talking shit in your face just cause. So Japan is almost like a second home to us.
Have y'all heard anything from Inoue's camp, anything like leading up into fight week or either last fight week that stuck out that you were like, I want to get him in the ring, or has it been just respectful the whole time? I feel like this is kind of a passing of the torch like you talked about earlier.
I heard a couple different things that were really interesting to me. The first fight there was really nothing. This fight, Nonito actually told our interpreter to tell Inoue's side. He said, "I'm not shaking Inoue's hand this fight." He's like, "I'll bow to him, but I'm not touching him." And so Inoue knows that. We've heard he wants to make sure Nonito retires after this fight. We've also heard him complaining about his lower back. We've also heard about his rounds of sparring.
Wow.
And but Nonito doesn't care. He doesn't pay attention to anything. He is expecting the best in Inoue.
Mm-hmm.
So any of all those rumors or what he said, it doesn't really matter to us. But gentlemen, I have gotten flagged to come back into the other room.
All right. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
You may not
Of
remember me,
course.
but we've talked on the phone before. But it's great to talk to you.
I'm Corey Lee. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice meeting you guys. And you guys down in the chats, make sure you like and subscribe and share. Hit the notification button for this channel. And I'm sure I will talk to you guys again soon. You guys be careful and safe. Thanks, guys.
All right. Have a good one.
Peace out.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Wow.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard to not like the Donaires, man. I mean, they're just
it's very hard.
They're just good people. So
very hard to.
And this is you asked me for a prediction. I'll give you the prediction offline. But I just didn't. I don't like to put any. Even when I was in gyms with Dana Rosenblatt, Mickey Ward and stuff back, because I'm from Boston. There was times what I would think things and see things, but if it was negative or if it was just if I know I'm biased, I don't want to talk about something because I just want I don't want to put any negative energy in the air. So but it's definitely a tough fight. it's a
You can
50-50.
tell though, Beebs. You can
It's
tell,
a 50.
man,
It's a 50-50 fight, man.
But you can tell, Beebs, that they're really dialed in, man. They are extremely dialed in. And, I think they're giving Nonito the best chance to win. I think, leading up into this fight, because you can tell, I mean, he's almost in a box right now. He goes to the gym, he does his thing, and then he comes home, and that's pretty much that. He doesn't go anywhere else, it looks like.
And going into this rematch, Donaire is he has momentum this time, whereas maybe at the time when they first fought, the momentum wasn't as strong as it is now. So that's definitely something that is different for this fight, and could be going towards his favor, if I'm being honest. So,
but that's what I'm saying. But I feel like we haven't talked about his age at all in this whole thing with us interviewing her and everything like that. I feel like the age has to come into effect at some point, doesn't it? Be when does age play a factor? He's 37 years old. He's been in numerous wars. So it's like, when does age? I mean,
let me be honest with you. I don't.
In the room. I mean,
let me be honest with you. I don't want to
bear bad news. He's not even 37. He's 39. He's 39 now. Excuse me. Correction. He's 39.
Let me be honest with you, Corey.
Wow. And he's only 120, 20 something pounds. I mean, they said that the younger guys fade early in their ages. That's what they say. That's what all of the quote unquote, hardcore say. They say the smaller guys fade later. Fade early into their career, like 30, 31, they're done. That's what they've said. So,
well, once again, as you get older, sometimes less is more, and I think they've learned that over the years. And I'm the prime example of that. I'll be 53 years old in December, and if you ask the Honey Dips if I've lost a step, they'll tell you I haven't. If I'm being honest. So
this dude,
I'm still rolling with the 25-year-olds. I still got the
Beebs with the gun show.
I still got the 17-inch pythons. So I'm a prime example of that age is just a number.
Yeah.
Got the fresh cut, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, all right.
Full head of hair still.
Stallion thing going on.
Very little grays, no dye in this head.
Oh, what? All right, man.
But I'm the prime example, man, that we can't beat Father Time, but we could hold him off a little bit. We could fight him.
But I understand you said all of that, Beebs, and I understand people at home got excited, Beebs, kind of doing this old little runway model thing going on. I understand all that. But Beeb is not taking any fucking punches. Okay, that's what Beeb is not doing. Okay, so let's just cut the shit. Inoue-Donaire is taking punches, and I think he'll take a lot of punches. I'm not gonna say a lot, but I think he'll take his fair share of punches come Tuesday morning, U.S. Eastern time. And I just think that Inoue-Donaire, like I said, and I'll say it again, he's got to be defensively responsible. I cannot stress that enough, man. Yes, he had broke the orbital bone of Inoue, but Inoue is a lot younger. This was really the first war that Inoue had ever been in. And I feel like it still affects Inoue to this day. So y'all did have a point on that, but moving forward, and more importantly, thinking about how Inoue-Donaire can win this fight, he's got to be active, the monster, aka Inoue, he throws a lot of punches, and he's very accurate and precise. I don't see him throwing punches just to throw them. He's very precise. He's almost dissecting you down, round by round. And I think he thought he could do that, and he thought that maybe that, a lot wasn't left in the gas tank of Inoue-Donaire towards the end of that fight, and he almost got clipped himself, if you remember. Inoue almost got slept himself in that last and final round. And that was, it was a back and forth battle. It was a freaking fight of the year candidate. Didn't it win fight of the year in some people's eyes?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the level of fight we got coming up Tuesday night, you guys. I can't stress that enough. This fight is huge. It's huge for boxing. It's a global sport, and we gotta get up in the morning and support. 7:30 in the morning. we got to get up to support this fight. It's going down in Japan, you guys. And I just think that Inoue, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Inoue is going to be a little bit too much for Inoue-Donaire, man. Beeves is not going to pick who he thinks going to win. But I'm just leaning towards Inoue. Inoue-Donaire is 39 years of age. Wins enough. And Father Time waits for no man. And I just feel like, Tuesday morning is going to be Inoue-Donaire. It's going to be pretty much his judgment day. And we got to see what he can produce. We got to see should he even be in the ring at all. He's 39 years old. This guy, this is not no spring chicken, and you're fighting one of the pound for pound best fighters in the entire world of boxing. Period. Let's not look over that. Let's take this fight very seriously, like Inoue-Donaire and his wife is. This guy can get seriously hurt in this. I hope everything works out good for both fighters, and I hope they come out very good. But let's not bullshit ourselves now. That first fight was very entertaining, and we got our money's worth, to say the least. And that's why we watch boxing, to watch fights like that. And I really truly think that this fight can capture some of the same ebbs and flows as the first fight. It was just an awesome spectacle to watch that fight, man. It was so amazing, man. And it was for all of the belts. It was for wasn't it for the WBF tournament, for the gold medal and for the statue and everything. Mind you, the statue was very heavy. Inoue could barely hold that statue too. But I just think that this fight, it has that same aura about it. But that first fight was so big for the light guys and for the WBFF to take a chance on the light guys. Because remember, before that, you had 140 pounders, cruiserweights, and all of that stuff. This was the first time the WBF tournament, they took a chance on the lighter guys, and it worked out tremendously, I feel like, for that whole organization, and just for, the sport moving forward, letting these young guys letting these not these young guys, but these lighter weight guys in the lighter weight divisions get a chance, because they got a story too. Inoue-Donaire has got a hell of a story. But the main thing I want to say, Beebs, is Father Time waits for no man. Tuesday morning, we will have to see what Inoue-Donaire is made of. I know he's an awesome champion, future Hall of Famer, but is he over that hill yet? We have not got the definitive answer that he is over the hill yet. And will we see that Tuesday morning? I think we will. I think we'll find out if he has another fight left or should he retire. We'll have that answer come at the end of this fight, come Tuesday morning, Beebs.
Want to hear what the odds are right now?
What are the odds, Beebs?
Inoue is a minus 600. Donaire is a plus 400. This is
wow.
This. I mean,
wow.
Is it? Are you tempted to put with that plus 400 right now? Are you tempted to put a little something on Donaire or no?
Whoa! What? Wow, Bees. I mean, what? I'm tempted a little bit. I'm actually a little tempted.
I'm tempted because this is a tough fight, man.
Wow, plus 400? You're getting 400 if you pick Donaire?
Yeah.
Damn. The first fight was a pick'em after the 12 rounds. After the 12 rounds, we didn't know who was going to win.
It was a close fight. With you.
It was a close fight like that. But I think Vegas, they're betting that Inoue-Donaire can't do that twice. That's what they're betting on.
Donaire was a plus 1,200 the first fight, so he's like a 12-1 underdog the first fight. Now he's a 4-1 underdog.
But he's still a pretty big underdog. He's still a pretty big underdog. Even after he did what he did the last fight, he's still a big, and he's won fights. How many fights has he won since the last fight?
He's won a couple, like 2 or 3.
He's won 2 in a row. Okay, he beat Ebola and by 4-round KO, and then he beat Gabala by 4-round KO. And both guys were respectfully undefeated. And And so yeah, man.
Yo,
My man, Tony T. It's been a long ass time, Tony T.
What's going
What's
on?
up? What's up, Tony T?
Chilling, man, chilling. Yeah, you know, we repping for the old men, babe. You know, we got the same age, so we gotta be up here repping for the old men.
I gotta rap. I got.
All right, you gotta rep. You gotta rep for the older guys. All right.
I'm pulling. I don't think I've ever rooted against Inoue-Donaire ever in a fight. I've always liked the dude, man. He's always resonated with me, man. So, I'm gonna be pulling for him to win, man.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can. So I think it's just like I said. I've spoken to many boxers and stuff. You know, I'm out here right now by Saratoga, and I go to Boxing Hall of Fame in Canastota every year. About to come up. It comes up every fall day, and I'm talking to a lot of dudes, and all they always tell me is the old guys are like, it's like a fight to fight thing. So one fight you look great, and when you're an old man, the next fight you're an old man, and you don't know until you get into that ring. You feel great, training feels great, everything is good, but when you get in that ring, they said the guy, what Ray Mercer told me was like, he's like, it's a door, you can see it, but you just can't walk through it. And that's what it feels like. He's like, you're just standing there. He's like, and you're always a second behind. Like, you know exactly how to react, but your punch is always a second late. And that's the problem I would have. If it's a situation like that with him, then he get old overnight. We don't know. When you're that age, you don't know until you get in the ring. And I think that it either plays out one or two ways. He could have Victor Ortized him. You know what I mean? He could have scared this dude after breaking his face up, you know what I mean? And maybe this guy's like Victor Ortiz, like, listen, I don't need to be taking this damage anymore, man. And he could have bitched him out like that, and the guy could be scared. So it all depends what type of content and characters Inoue has. I don't know.
I'm gonna say this real quick. Both guys, I just did the research. Both guys have continued their knockout streak after this. Their whole run in with each other. Both guys have knocked out every opponent they have got in the ring with. Inoue-Donaire was in the ring with two guys. Inoue, aka the Monster, was in the ring with three guys, and they all knocked out all of their opponents. So they're steamrolling like just for this collision course Tuesday morning.
Yeah, but he didn't knock out the guy who broke his face. You know, you can go beat up. You get beat up by somebody. You know, I've never really been beat up, but I've seen dudes beat up. And it scare you, you know what I mean? It'll scare you when you see the guy in real life, like, yo, this guy who did this to me, you know, like in the mafia movies, you know what I mean? Like if you watch Bronx Tale, you know, when Sonny gets the guy and he goes, look at me, remember, I'm the guy who did this to you. You know, you can stake somebody like that, you know, they're all human beings, even though they're boxers, human beings, that Inoue could be shook. But I think the style beat that he should implement would be the Bernard Hopkins versus Trinidad style. I think fight long from the outside when you got to, rush in with your head, beat him up on the inside, then go back to fighting outside and try to make this guy, you know, take his will away. Because Trinidad at that time, and Beeb remembers, because, you know, he was an unstoppable force coming off the Joppy fight. No one thought Bernard had a chance. Bernard just, you know, went in there and physically beat him up, took his heart away from him, and then knocked him out. And I think that's what he has to do. And he did it not just by rushing in there, but he did it by boxing him, staying back, fighting big, fighting long, throwing the jab, and making Trinidad walk into something.
But let me ask you this, though. Like Beeb just said, man, I'm glad you came on, Don, so we get another perspective on this fight. What about that plus 400, man? I don't know if you're a betting man, but I mean, does that entice you a little bit, knowing that the first fight was kind of razor thin close, and when they read the decision, you didn't know which way the judges were going to go? I mean, would you put a little bit of money on there if you were a betting man? Plus 400 are pretty good odds, don't you think, for Donaire? But is he over the hill? Is the $1 million question?
That's, you just don't know. You know what I mean? But as a Donaire fan, I'd drop 100 on Donaire.
Oh, okay.
Why not? I'd do it just as a fan and hope for the best. You know what I mean? I take my chances on that fight all day.
Tony T is gonna drop a sheet on Donaire, man.
Wow, what about you?
Wrong with that.
What about you? You got it's plus 400. What are you thinking? Betting the odds with Beebs. Beating the odds with Beebs.
I'm gonna make a value play on Inoue-Donaire, man.
Okay, so what you break it down? What are you thinking?
I would put $100, maybe 100, maybe 100 or two. Why not?
On Donaire?
Yeah, why not?
You think that's a good bet? What do you if you put
Well,
that
here's the
100,
thing.
what do you get back?
Here's you get your 400. If you bet 100, you get your 400 back plus the 100, so you get like 500 back.
Woo! Okay.
Here's the thing, man. Here's the thing. Inoue-Donaire broke like a seven fight knockout streak for Inoue, right? He was blowing everyone out. He was taking dudes out quick. So now you run into a guy who you're supposed to blow out of the water, and you don't blow him out of the water, right? And he breaks your face, right? And as Rachel said, your face will never be the same. And like Tony T said, he's gonna look in the mirror and he's gonna remember who did this to him. So then when he has to face that man again on Tuesday morning, my time, that's gonna be in the back of his mind that I hit this guy with everything but the kitchen sink. I even hurt him, I dropped him, and he got back up and he still came at me. He still was giving me this work. When you got a guy like Inoue-Donaire who's just as dangerous moving forward as moving backward, right? And you got a guy like Inoue who's basically only shown to be dangerous moving forward. We've never seen this guy forced to fight off the back foot. We've never seen this guy. He's underrated with his punch placement, his combinations, the way he sets the shots up. He's very quick, explosive, and he's a fluid combination puncher. But one thing we have not seen him do, he's not that guy who likes to maneuver a lot with his feet. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. He likes to kind of walk guys back and put guys on his offense is overwhelming. His offense is just overwhelming guys. It's not like he's stepping around you, creating angles. There's not a lot of finesse to his offense. It's just kind of like brute. I'm not gonna say it's brute force, but it's an intelligent pressure.
A lot of contact.
So intelligent pressure, meaning he's constantly touching. He'll still give you those throwaway punches to open up the big shots. He's really good at doing that. But he's not a guy who kind of crafty feint here, step to the side, give you that dip that feint to this side, step off to the side. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Donaire is that guy. He's that guy who can outmaneuver you with foot movement. Whereas Inoue is that guy who kind of comes forward, imposes his will, gives you that tap, then comes with the big shot. Tap, like try to get you to move those hands around with those throwaway punches. Then he sneaks in the power shot. So I think he's underrated in how he's able to open up those power shots. He's not a guy that just barrels forward and just loads up. He's very, very crafty with his offense as well. But there's not a lot of finesse to it, and I could see guys like Donaire, who's like I said, who has very good footwork, very fast on his feet. I think he realizes now where I'm going to try and constantly turn this guy, constantly step around this guy and create that punching angles. If I force this guy to have to reset his feet continuously, then he's not going to be able to generate those power shots off on me. So I think there is a path to victory here for Inoue-Donaire, and it's going to be with his footwork. Rachel said the jab is going to be a key weapon in this fight. In my opinion, the footwork is going to be the key weapon in this fight. Not only throwing feints with the upper body, but also throwing foot feints. Stepping off to one side and then turning, stepping off to one side and sliding the other way.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
You know what else I could say, B? Another fight that would be similar to this, how he could beat him, Marco Antonio Barrera versus Nassim Hamed.
Correct.
Right? He fights him like that. Long jab, and then when you get the chance, bully him. Scare him, that Marco Antonio Barrera smash Hamed's head into the corner, into the turnbuckle like a professional wrestler. You gotta beat this guy up, bully him, get him out of his comfort zone. So I'm not the other guys you fought, you know what I mean? Scare him a little bit. He's already had his face damaged, so if he goes in there like that. But what Marco Antonio Barrera did is a long jab. He was the babyface assassin going there, fighting, bulldozing with his head, just taking a punch to give a punch. Nope. He came out there, jab, right hand, jab, right hand. And he brawled when he had to brawl. When he had to get in there with him, he beat him to the body and scared the Prince and made the Prince never fought again after that fight. He retired after that. And like I said, Victor Ortiz, you seen it when he got beat up. In the interview, he said, I shouldn't have to take abuse like this. Is this monster truly a monster? Or because he's been bullied now. And he's been beating people up for a long time, scaring people. But now the fact that he's gotten beat up, is he truly that monster? Or is he afraid right now? Because he may be like, listen, I have an acting career I could go to in Japan. I got a lot of women up here. My eye is hanging out the socket. I don't want to look like this, So it all depends what type of mindset this guy got. I don't know. I don't know him personally, but he may not be that fighter that we think he is.
Styles make fights.
Make fights, man.
This could be that style that maybe just troubles him a little bit here, man. And I have to ask you this question, Corey Lee. You talked about Donaire taking damage. Who do you think took more damage in this fight? Donaire or Inoue?
I mean, she made good points. I got to shout out Rachel for coming on here and speaking to me and Beebs. I knew I enticed the hell out of her about some of the things I said. And Beebs was playing off of that shit too. God, we got her in there. I mean, I'm just calling a spade, man. That's what happened. I'm an instigator, man. You know that. Oh man, dude, I fell right into it, man.
you know how I play the game, man.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on here. But she did have some good points about the fight. She said she pretty much was saying that the fight she broke her husband Inoue-Donaire broke the orbital bone of Inoue, and she made a good point that he had been going longer in fights after that. He had a 7th round knockout and then an 8th round knockout. A lot of his knockouts became before this was earlier. And she did have a good point there. But with all of that being said, I still think that he does have that respectable power. And they say power is the last thing to go. And I'm going to be honest, man. It's not in any way we trust, but it's damn near close, man. I think Inoue is a problem. I still think he is a problem at those lighter weight divisions. And I think Inoue-Donaire is going to have to defend the fuck out of himself, for 12 rounds to not get hit with those punches. Because those punches can not only end his night, could end his career. Okay? We could be talking about this being Inoue-Donaire's last fight because Inoue said so. You know what I mean? And it's just because Father Time, and like you guys say, it's all about how he treats his body. I think he treats his body like a temple. So I feel like he's given his best chance to win and his best foot forward. They said he eliminated some of the trainers that Inoue-Donaire had leading up into this fight. His wife touched on them having too many trainers, maybe having 2 or 3 too many trainers, so they cut back on that. But that did scare me about the whole Senior situation. She said about Senior, having, how COVID kind of locked them in and all of that, but that still is Senior. Senior has been there for a long time. And we'll see. Is this the new reign in the later years of Inoue-Donaire's career? Are we looking at something special, you guys? Are we looking at something that could possibly rewrite the history books? You know what I mean? Because Inoue-Donaire is only one punch away, man, from really landing that powerful shot, because both guys got power. This makes this fight so enticing. Both guys can end the night for each other, okay? If Inoue didn't have a heart, he would not continue with a broken orbital bone, okay? That's a very, very bad injury. Kell Brook ended Kell Brook's career because of that orbital bone. He had never been the same after that, okay? Billy Joe Sanders, orbital bone, done. Okay? These orbital bones ain't nothing to fuck with, man. Abner Mares thought he was gonna come back. No, orbital bone. These orbital bones are nothing to fuck with. So that's why I said yes. It's gonna be a mind thing, and it's like Beebs touched on. You wake up every day knowing that this guy put a steel plate or whatever in my face. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's different, man. This is a barbaric sport. This is a warrior sport. That's why I respect these fighters so much. So just as much as I doubt Inoue-Donaire can get the job done, there is some doubt in Inoue with that face, man. For real, man.
There is. If he has psychological damage, let's say when a bully gets bullied, they're not the same. You can look at Roy Jones Jr., my favorite fighter. I think he's the greatest fighter of my generation. I think if he didn't lose to Tarver, he would have been considered number 1, number 2 of all time. It would have been between him and Sugar Ray Robinson. But when he got knocked out, he was never the same fighter again. He was gun shy to go in, especially when he got knocked off by Johnson. That was it. You could see in the Calzaghe fight when he fought Calzaghe. He knocked Calzaghe down. Then he gets hit in the second round by a big right hand by Calzaghe. He never went in again. He got shook. He's never want to get knocked out. Boxers have the fragilest egos.
Yeah.
That all other sports you see, they have the fragilest egos.
And Don, I'm so glad you touched on it because that's what Rachel said in the interview. Rachel touched on that. Rachel was like, no, Inoue-Donaire needs to be left alone. He needs to be, he's in his box, and he needs to just be in his circle, and his circle's small, and they don't watch a lot of things, and they don't, a lot of people cannot get in touch with Inoue-Donaire and stuff like that. She has a separate phone to just get on YouTube and shit. Like nobody can call that phone. And it's just like that shows you right there that he's trying to distance himself from a lot of people out there. You know what I mean? And just be in his own personal space.
These dudes is going out there basically butt naked, fighting in front of a million people, man. It's hard just to fight.
Like egos,
when you were in school and people like, I'll see you at 3:00 and this whole 6th grade class came out to watch you fight. It was like, oh my God, all these people are watching. Now you're thinking about being naked in front of millions of people. Because I remember Sugar Ray Leonard, he said it at the Hall of Fame one time.
He used to run into kids at school. Chill, Beebs.
Yeah.
Chill. You a bully. Beeb the bully. Beeb the bully. Beeb the bully.
Sugar Ray Leonard said at the Hall of Fame, he was like, you could win all your fights as a boxer and everyone loves you. He goes, you lose one time, especially by knockout. You can't go outside. Your friends are clowning you. The barbershop dudes are clowning you. Everyone's clowning. So you can win 50 in a row. That one fight you lose, all of a sudden no one wants to be seen with you. People making fun of you. All the people you was down with. It's that quick. And boxing's the only sport like that. When you take an L and people make fun of you, you become mean. Look at this YouTuber Jake did to people. They meme these dudes. You know what I mean? If you get knocked out, so it's a
not want to get hit on the end of that punch, man, and get mean, talk all that shit.
That's what happens. So look, I'm going with Donaire.
You are? Wow. Why though?
I just think he has more heart than this guy. I don't think this guy's got the heart. When I really see him, I don't think he's a real fighter. I think he's a front runner, and I said I don't think he's truly that monster that people set him out to be. And I think that he'll fold under the pressure, and that'll be it. If it gets tough for him, he's gonna fold. I don't think he's really got it in him to be a fighter. You've seen a lot of fighters are like that. Who's that guy? Acelino Freitas, right? He was knocking everybody out. Everyone, no one could be. And then as soon as he got beat one time, he was done. Popo. That was the end of Popo. You never seen Popo again. But he was the bully. But once he got bullied, that was the end of him. And it just seems like that's what this guy is. You can go with Mike Tyson, the same situation. I love Mike Tyson, but he's never beaten anyone significant in his career. And if you really go through it, that was in his age generation. He picked on all the guys that were older than him. But when he got to the guys whose own generation, Holyfield, you go through them all. Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, he lost every big fight he was in. So you know what I mean?
I think that was a lot different though too with the Mike Tyson, man. Come on now, Don. I gotta correct you. I think that if Mike Tyson were to fight Evander Holyfield when he was on his run in 1989, like the row of guys he was fighting when he was fighting Larry Holmes and all of that, it would have been a different story. Straight up.
I don't know. I don't know if it would have been because he fought Buster Douglas when he was on that roll and got knocked out, right? So Holyfield.
Nah, that was more after he won the title. I'm talking about those first 4 fights. If he could have fought Lennox Lewis, Evander Holyfield, in those first 4 fights before the girls and all that stuff, and before he got convicted and everything like that, I just think that Mike Tyson, when he first won that belt and he beat Riddick, whatever his name is, when he beat him, the first 4 fights after that, those could have been a murderous row. Any one of those guys could have got it in that span of time. I think that was the prime Mike Tyson, and I think that was the best Mike Tyson.
I think I understand what you're saying, but if you look at those fights, when he fought Donovan Razor Ruddock, he couldn't get him out of there. When he fought Mitch the Blood Green, he couldn't get him out of there. So
he hurt him, and he hurt him very badly, and they went through hell.
He didn't get those guys out of there. Like,
and they went through hell.
I would still think, and the thing about Holyfield is that it comes down to heart. Holyfield's got that heart, that desire. When it came down to it, Mike, sometimes when you got to bite down on your mouthpiece and say, listen, I'm either going to get knocked out or knocked out, Mike didn't have that in him to do that. When he was beating people up, he was a great front runner. But when he had some opposition, Mike took a hell of a punch. It took him a while to get him out of there, but he couldn't beat those guys. When it came down to it, he settled. And you know, his trainer would say he would put his hands behind the guy and hug him and stop throwing punches and just try to survive. So when the going got tough, he wasn't no Marvelous Marvin Hagler. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? He Marvelous Marvin Hagler, like, you couldn't do that to Hagler. You couldn't do that to Biha. You know what I mean? With these guys in their prime, they're going there and they're going all out. When it came down to it, they're going to win that fight. So I don't know if Mike Tyson was that guy when it came down to it.
Hey, man, listen, Tony, I know, man. That's all that matters, man. I know.
Look at this. Look at this caping for George Kambosos. Still, Camp can be first and work on getting under the jab.
Oh,
and now
he could never do anything.
Come on, people keep. And then look at this. Look at this now. George Kambosos is getting disrespected, and it's amazing. No, you know what's amazing is that y'all can't see Devin Haney like box circles around this dude. I mean,
that fight was too one-sided to try to make any argument for Kambosos.
There's tiers to this, right? There's levels to this life. You know what I mean? There's levels to it. He's just not an A+ fighter. Haney is, and his style is he's a very lead foot, flat-footed, all the weight on the front foot fighter, and that style is never going to be the slick boxer because you always got to, as B said, reset before you can plant that foot again. You know, and that's just the bottom line. Haney will box circles around him. It would be worse next time. Haney would probably stop him this time because he's got no respect for the dude this time going out. So I think he's going to try to take the fight because, listen, he had his one shining fight in his life. He made his money. He did his thing with his life. It's over for him. His career is done. He'll never reach that pinnacle again. That's the end of it for him. He had his shining moment, and he should be grateful that he had it. He made history, but he'll never beat any one of the top guys in there. Just like Danny Swift Garcia. He'll never beat the top guys, Danny Swift Garcia. He's a good fighter, but he can't. And Sean Porter.
But he already beat some of the top guys.
Who did he beat that was top?
Not at welterweight.
Who did he beat that was the top guy? He can't beat none of them guys. His claim to fame, Danny Swift Garcia, is knocking out Amir Khan. That's what that's it.
Matisse.
Yeah, Matisse. But Matisse was old too. But who
you
else?
was picking against Danny on that Matisse fight, Don.
Huh?
You was picking against Danny on that Matisse fight.
Oh shit! Called out.
I never did.
All right.
I never picked Matisse.
I wanna ask D-Star a question about George Kambosos.
Go ahead.
That I asked Corey already.
Okay.
Let's take a look at the top,
Man, he
top
still
guys.
got some left.
Let's take a look at the top guys at lightweight, and you tell me if George Kambosos beats them. Vasily Lomachenko.
No.
Devin Haney, we already know.
Nope.
Tank Davis.
It'll be worse the second time, by the way, if he fights Haney again.
Tank Davis.
No.
Ryan Garcia.
No.
Isaac Cruz.
No.
Jojo Diaz.
Actually, no.
You would pick Jojo Diaz over.
I would pick Jojo would give Haney a better fight.
He did. Richard Comey.
A little more competitive, but I would favor Comey. But that is a good fight, though.
Okay, Javier Fortuna.
He could beat Fortuna. Like, it's not 100%, but I would favor Kambosos.
So based off of those answers, and I'm gonna
I'll give you one more. If Teo was, I would still favor Teo in a rematch.
Yeah. So I'm gonna continue to twist the knife for the capers in the chat. Right?
Oh boy.
Beeb, why wouldn't Cam take the rematch? It's like taking a rematch from Floyd. It would go 12 rounds. There's no fear of getting a concussion, and you get a great payday. Because he'd be suffering 2 losses in a row. And when you suffer 2 losses in a row, it's hard to come back from 2 losses in a row. You lose a lot of momentum. That's why. But is it safe to say, and I don't want to lead the witness here, but could we argue that maybe George Kambosos was a one-hit wonder?
Well, let me say this, just to be transparent here. So I've always been the guy that, hey, don't make excuses when a guy loses, give the guy credit. And I think giving myself that hard rule, and I did it because so many fans make all these excuses when guys lose, right? I didn't want to, I just didn't want to be that guy because people know I was a Teofimo fan, right? So I don't want to be that guy making excuses. Oh, Teo was fine. Even when the story came out, the doctor said, hey, this dude wasn't 100%. Going in, he's lucky to be alive. I was saying, no, I don't want to hear it. Teo lost. That's it. I want to give Kambosos all the credit in the world. And the reality is that those things do matter, and they matter when you're assessing another fight, and the stars did align for Cambosos when he fought Teofimo Lopez. I'm not taking away his win because he still had to go out there and perform, right? But hell, the stars were aligning for this fight for him. Like it was in Melbourne, it was in Australia. The dad wasn't around for most of the camp, and even then he could have beat Haney, right? So it is what it is. But yeah, he's like Ice Ice Baby. That was his hit last year, and that's it.
I'm so disappointed in this bash party. I mean, really. Well, again,
is this a real person though? Is this like a real dude?
I don't know.
He had his Buster Douglas moment. Not a lot of people get that their whole life. He got his Buster Douglas moment.
He beat a guy with a broken esophagus. Teofimo Lopez had a busted esophagus going.
I'll be honest. I don't know how serious it was. I just want to so I don't know.
He got punched in the chest by the mountain.
You know what? I actually showed a fighter.
Man, that's crazy.
There's a female fighter out of Australia that didn't know about all that, right? Because she DM'd me about the fight, and she's telling me I don't like Kambosos, and I thought he got lucky in a Teo fight or whatever. And then I kind of I said, yeah, did you hear about his condition? She's like, what condition? So I showed her the condition he had. It's like a long name. I don't even know. I can't recall the name. And then what the condition is and what causes it. And then I showed her the mountain punching little Teo with everything he's got, right? A dude double his size. And she just said, what the fuck? That's the stupidest thing I ever seen, right? So yeah, it's stupid. So we'll never know the extent that Teo was not 100%. We'll never know, right? But I mean, Kambosos had a good start in that fight. He dropped him early, and then Teo got aggressive, and so so there was more to it than just a condition, right? And just like Douglas, look, at the end of the day, Douglas still faced adversity. He got knocked down. He had to get back up in that fight, and he made it happen. The same with Teo, right? It was very similar. He got knocked down by Teo. He got back up. So there was still some adversity. It's still an accomplishment. But it's fair it is just like with Douglas and just like with Teo, it's fair to say or ask, were they 100%? And I think most people will say no, they weren't. It's hard to say that because I'm not a guy that likes to take away wins from people. But, I mean, reality is reality.
It's true. It was Mike Tyson 100%. He was out there partying. And I think that when it came to Teo, again, when the going got tough, he wasn't there. I just think that it was too much so fast. He became such a big star. You know what I mean? So fast. And I don't know. Some people just can't handle it right. They just don't, who was it? Marvin Hagler said it. It's hard to go out and train when you're sleeping in silk sheets, right? So, it's hard to get out there. Was he training it proper? Did he take this guy seriously? Did he not take him seriously? Did he think, this is just a stepping stone fight to get to another fight? I think it all aligned for him, and that's why Kambosos got the win and stuff. And I think he should be proud that he got his moment. He had his moment. He's just small. When you look at these dudes compared in the ring with Haney, he's tiny. He's not big enough to beat this. Or Brian Garcia is way too long for him. He's just way too long. He's gonna pick him apart. And that's what I say real quick, B. About Errol Spence. What I've always said about Errol Spence, and the reason why he can beat all these welterweights. He started his career at welterweight. All these other guys are moving up. He's just too big for these guys. Terrence Crawford is a great fighter, but Errol Spence started his career at this weight. He's not going to lose until he gets to middleweight, super middleweight.
Crawford's still going to win.
These guys are moving up from lightweight, coming up here, junior welterweight to fight him. They're too small. He's just too big for these guys, and I think that's the problem with Kambosos. He's too tiny for these guys. He's not gonna. He can't keep up with him. Tank will knock him out, annihilate him. His style is built for Tank. He couldn't go 3 rounds with Tank. He'd get hit once, and it would be a wrap. So
I mean, how many times are you going to be able to get in the ring with someone and fight him with a broken esophagus? I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, he fought someone with a broken.
Beef's just like he's turning that thing.
He beat someone with a broken esophagus. I mean, that's just the fact.
I'm gonna nickname Beef the Switchblade, like every Sunday morning when he goes like guys, you know.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I feel bad. I got a lot of fans. I got a lot of people from my YouTube watch my channel from Australia, and I got nothing but love for people in Australia. You know what I mean? But I said be proud of this guy. I mean, I think it's the same thing. Beef, if you could talk about this real quick. Like a lot of people I hear, talking about Tim Tszyu fighting Charlo. And I said that it's not a good fight. I think it could be a situation like Felix Trinidad when he fought Fernando Vargas, like he ruined him after that fight. Do you think that could happen to Tim Tszyu if he fought Charlo? Like it's just way too early for him to fight him?
It is early.
I do favor Charlo heavily in that fight, to be honest with you, and it could really could put a roadblock in Tim Tszyu's career. It could be a big setback depending on how he loses, because Charlo has just a way of just when he knocks a guy out, man, he really puts him out. You know what I mean? He really puts him out.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
these are highlight reel knockouts.
Yeah, you seen it with Trinidad with David Reed. They rushed David Reed in there to fight Felix Trinidad. That was David Reed's career. And Fernando Vargas was just about the same thing. They rushed him in there young. Oh, you're gonna fight. And Trinidad nearly took his. It was a good fight. Fernando did good showing. I could watch that fight over and over again. But in the end, Fernando Vargas was not the same after that fight.
And Charlo is 2-0 with 2 knockouts in rematches. So it's like, he did the same thing to Tony Harrison. He did the same thing to Castano. He knocked both guys out where they couldn't continue. And I did later in the fight as well too. I predicted that in both of them fights too. Later knockouts. I think that Charlo gets better late. Remember we had this discussion, Beebs? And I just think that, he comes on later, and especially after the rematch, because the first fight was a close fight. I think he learns how the fight slows down for him, and he tries to figure you out. And I think Charlo does a good job. I think Derek James deserves a lot of credit as well. I think Derek James is a hell of a trainer. He's got 2, unified champions, possibly, or could be soon to be 2 undisputed champions if Earl can fight Terrence Crawford this year, or ever. But I just think that Charlo's a good guy. I think he's a good fighter. I don't know about good guy, but he's a good fighter. Him and the Charlo brothers, they got that other side to him, man. Where
he's a tough fighter. He's gonna beat you up, and that's the whole thing.
Mean fighter. He's a mean throwback fighter.
And a guy like Tim Tszyu, so young. You don't want to get beat up like that early in your career. You don't want to take that beating. You know what I mean?
But when do you get your chance? When do you wait till you get your chance? When
you got to fill out. I mean,
before Charlo gets beat already? Or
no, I would say give him some time. He just got there, Tim Tszyu. He just got the rushing. His team is rushing. Give him 3 more years or so, 2-3 years to develop his craft.
I do want to ask though. I guess someone in the chat keeps saying someone said Inoue has no heart. Like, who said that?
I said it. I said I don't know if he has the heart of a champion.
How do you not know?
Wow.
Because when I looked at the fight, and I looked at him, you know what I mean? I look at fighters and everything else. The way his face was beat up, the way, he got his orbit bone broken and everything else.
And he finished the fight.
But I don't know when you get in there with the guy who actually did that to you, will you hold up to the same pressure? Will you say, all right, I'm willing to take a beating like that again and risk my eye getting broken up?
He's rematching him.
Or will you? Well, he's gonna take the fight again, but he didn't happen yet. You're not gonna know until the fight goes.
Okay.
So I don't know if he has that. We'll see.
I think he does, and let me explain why. So one, we all know that Donaire could punch, and we all know Donaire's most of his knockouts are against smaller guys, right? And I'm not even here to call Donaire a weight bully. You make weight, you make weight. It's fair game. It's fair game. I've always said that about all the weight classes. But most guys in that position, like a Dubois or somebody where their orbital bone is injured, they find a way out. And not only did Inoue not find a way out, he fought back, and he actually caught Donaire with a good body shot, made Donaire do a little lap, and Donaire took a knee. He brought the fight to Donaire. It's not like Inoue is not like a Rigondeaux that's going to go defensive or something like that. Like he knows how to fight, one way really, and he's really really good at what he does. Donaire, Inoue, but I think he proved in that fight. Like I don't think a fighter needs to prove multiple times, right, that they have heart. Like if they show you have heart, they've revealed who they are, right? Victor Ortiz revealed who he was, in my opinion, in that Maidana fight, and we saw a pattern move forward from there. Inoue showed me who he was in that fight. He showed me that he's a guy that definitely has heart, and he's going to stop Donaire this time.
Wow.
We'll see. We'll see if he does. I gotta see it. Like I gotta see. He did fight back, and he didn't just say, "All right, it's over." But I will say that he was home and he was in front of his people, and he was. So I think, and he was undefeated, so he still had that drive to do it. I don't know how it has affected him since. So, and when
he's still undefeated, he's still going to be in front of his people. He's going to be fighting the same dude.
He's fighting the same guy who did this to him. So I'm saying, when the pressure gets put on him, and a similar situation happens, will he be willing to stand in there and fight him and not just back away and try to run away? When he gets it. That's what I want to see. I want to see if he's going to be willing to do that. Now, if he's willing to do it, he has a great shot of winning this fight, of course. He's the favorite for a reason. He should.
So you think it was like a fluke that he showed heart in that fight? Or?
I don't think it's a fluke that he showed heart in this fight. I'm just saying, after the fact, when you looked in the mirror and you look at your eye socket and it don't look the same that it did when you walked into the fight, when you start looking in the mirror every time and you're like, are you willing to take that beating again or to mess up yourself again? Or do you look towards the future and say, listen, I'm a young man. I don't got to get beat up like this. I made my money.
Did he take a beating though? It was a good punch. It was a good right hand that he landed, but what was Inoue taking a beat down? Like,
who do you think suffered more physical damage in that fight, Inoue or Donaire, if you were to judge it? It doesn't, and again, it doesn't matter because you're scoring the rounds. I'm not saying that has an impact on who wins the fight, but what it does have an impact on is moving forward, how a guy kind of moves in his career.
I would argue that it's like a weird question to answer because I believed Inoue suffered the worst injury in that fight, but overall damage was definitely Donaire. Donaire was getting beat down to the body. That's why he took a knee. If anything, we got to start questioning Donaire. He's the one that took a knee. A knee is a form of submission. A knee, that's what it is. People say, "Oh, this is boxing, not MMA." There's no submission in boxing. Oh, yeah, there is submission in boxing.
Could you argue it's a strategic move though to regroup yourself? Or?
No, there's nothing wrong with what he did. But if right now we're talking about Inoue is being judged up here, like, oh, is he going to show? Does he have the heart? I know he showed it, but so I'm gonna place Donaire in the same level then, right? And we're gonna do that. Who's the dude that took the knee?
Yeah, because there's fighters who've never been let's say like Floyd Mayweather. He's never been in the position really where he's had to bite down to his mouthpiece and get out there and win this fight.
Floyd?
He's never been there, so we don't know what type.
I think he had to do it against Shane Mosley.
He did. He got rocked.
What about the first Castillo fight?
The first Castillo fight he lost.
No. I'm not asking like who you scored it for, but Floyd had to bite down in that fight.
I know. I think he lost that fight. This in the second fight he blew him out, but I think that he didn't.
No. But was he was? It's not like Floyd packed it in and gave up, or
I would say, you know what, like Lennox Lewis, right? He was like one of those fancy fighters until he fought Ray Mercer. And that's a fight that I got respect for Lennox Lewis because at that fight, he put head to head, he went in there and he had to fight Ray Mercer. And that was a brutal.
Hey, Tony, is Tyson 0-5 or 0-6?
Huh?
Are you in that camp that says Mike Tyson's 0-6?
That he lost. I think he lost to every good fighter that he's ever fought that is in his age bracket. That's what I think, Mike Tyson. When I look at the people he fought that was in his age range, he lost to every one of them. He beat up all the old men. You know, he did the great job doing that. Michael Spinks and all of that. You know, he beat up all the black guys with afros. When it came to the black guys with fades, he lost.
What about the Jerry curls? He beat some guys with Jerry curls.
All the Jerry, he went the distance with the blood green, right? So you couldn't get him out of that either. So no, I look, when I judge fighters, I look at their records, I say, how many Hall of Fame fighters did you beat? And that is how I judge how great of a fighter that person is. You know, you look at the Hall of Famers that they beat. Not this.
Well, Floyd has a lot of Hall of Famers, by the way.
Who?
Floyd.
Oh yeah, I'm not. Floyd's a great fighter. I'm never trying to say he's not, but he never put himself in that position where he really had to fight like that. You know,
the show been great, man.
All right, man. I'll catch up, bro.
Thank you guys so much for watching, man.
Thanks
hopefully I can get on one of y'all Thursday night shows, Beebs. I'm taking some time off of work this week, so maybe I can. If one of y'all doing the next show on Thursday again?
8 p.m. Eastern Thursday.
This Thursday?
8 p.m. Yeah. 8 p.m. Eastern.
You want to come on?
Yeah, man. I want to check it out.
Yeah, but you gotta. I'll talk to you offline about what about the situation. But I don't. We'll talk about it. But we like to have you on though, man.
Okay, man. Thank you, man. Thank you guys so much, man. You guys have a blessed day, man.
Reek, what's up, Reek?
What's up, brother? Cambosos got an ass whooping yesterday, huh?
Did you bet the draw yesterday?
I did bet the draw. And then you know what's funny though? What was it? I mean, it was hard to even give Cambosos 2 rounds, right? And they still managed to give him a 116, 112 scorecard. Yeah, which means the rig was in. They just couldn't do nothing about it, you know.
I think I haven't looked at the judges' scorecards yet. I have to actually look at them. But
it was 2 116, 112s, 1
No. I know the numbers. When I say I'm talking about round per round. But what could happen sometimes, and I don't know if that's the case here, is that like the dude's already so ahead that anything that's remotely close, they start giving it to the other guy, or like, you know what I mean, like. But I think you're right though. I have a hard time. Like, it's going to sound sacrilegious to people. I could find 4 for Canelo against Bivol. I could, right? I didn't give him 4, but you could give him 4. I don't know how anybody could give.
Not the first 4, though. That was a little odd that all 3 judges gave.
Well, yes and no, but here's what I'm trying to say. I cannot fathom how anyone can possibly give 4 to Kambosos. I don't know how you could, even if you try.
The only rounds that I saw in
round 2 and 12.
Round 2 and 12.
That's it.
What about round 1?
It's round 2 and 12.
I couldn't give him round 1 to be honest.
I gave him round 2 and I gave him round 12. That's all he got, and that's anything in between.
Yeah,
that's the 2 I got.
I only gave him round 12.
Hey,
I didn't even.
Did you guys think Haney was hurt on round 2?
No,
I think he hurt him a little bit there. No,
like he hit him with a good shot, but I mean, like hurts. Like
you
know when the guy's hurt.
You've seen him.
No. I don't mean hurt in the sense of going down, but I mean like I don't know. I thought he caught him pretty good in that round.
No. I thought he hit him, but I don't think he was hurt. I mean, we've seen what happens when Haney gets hurt. You've seen him hurt before. He didn't have that same reaction. Now he just got hit with a good shot, and I think it woke him up a little bit. I was scared that it was so easy for him that he may get lackadaisical. That's what I was worried about. I was like, it was honestly probably easier than the sparring sessions that he's been in. And
I guess if you wanted to, you could give. I don't even know if you could give him round 1 though. I don't know, man. I just don't think he did anything.
Round 1 is a stretch.
All right, give it to him. What does it matter? What matter if he did?
No. I'm not talking in terms of score it objectively. I'm talking about if you're trying to give him rounds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe.
That's what I'm saying. But even then, it's hard. Like it's extremely difficult. So
I'd love to see. I agree with you. I'd love to see the 4 rounds that they gave Cambosos.
But
because back to I know.
Here's the problem with that theory too, though. Why why are we looking to give him rounds if you're a judge?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, what I'm saying is that I'm criticizing the judges. Like what I'm saying is, even if you do it that way, you still can't give him 4.
I'd love to see Steve Weisfeld's scorecard for that fight.
Yeah, it was way too easy of a fight. As I said, I think he should be proud of what he got. That's the biggest he's ever going to be in his career. He made his money. He'll try to get the rematch to make a little bit more money. But after that, you know, he's not an A-class fighter. He's a B-class fighter. That's just the bottom line. He's not on that upper tier.
Let's take a look at the chat here now. So MEZ Box gave Kambosos round 2 and 9. Jesse M gave him 2 and 4. So what if you give him 2, 9?
There was some competitive rounds in the first half of the fight.
If you give him 2, 4, 9, and 12, there's the 4 rounds. I don't know.
9. I just think it's comparative rounds, in my opinion.
Yeah,
where he did better, and then like, you know.
So I don't see how anybody could give him more than 2 and 12, honestly, because I was going for the draw and I'm like looking for rounds, but
I see he did it too.
He didn't do anything. That's the whole thing. He stood there and he was so afraid he wouldn't even throw. The Haney's just too long for him. He had him guessing. He was jumping at every time he flinched at him. He had him jumping. He ducked every time. All he did was swing. He almost fell on the floor like 3 times.
But what about round 3? I thought round 3 was a really good round for Kambosos, but
look at Bang Mateo. He says I gave him rounds 2, 9, 4, and 12.
2, 9, 4, and 12. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like Haney didn't do a lot in round 3.
I would say I would have to go and rewatch it, but I don't want to rewatch that fight at all. Though,
like, I think if you give him round 2, you almost gotta, because I give him round 2, 3, and 12.
Oh, you gave him round 3?
I gave him
watch round 3. I was very surprised with the commentary. I think Kambosos did some good work, to be honest with you.
Commentary was very.
After that, it was a wash. I felt like round 4 was competitive, but I felt like Haney took it. But it was competitive, and then it was getting more and more one-sided as the fight progressed. And then round 12, I mean, Haney's going to make people say he won it because Haney himself said, which he shouldn't have done. I took the round off. He probably won round 12. So,
yeah. Does it bother any of you guys that the national anthem got booed? I hated that.
No. I mean, listen. It's their country. They could do what they want. You know, this is.
Yeah, but we don't do that. We don't do when I was at the Garden for Nydia Feliciano. Yep. I mean, not Nydia. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor.
You know why there wasn't any booing though?
We weren't booing the Irish national anthem when it was singing.
Nobody was booing because those were the fan bases that were there.
Well, it was Puerto Rican also too, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like those were the fan bases that were there, so they're respecting their national anthems. Like, how many Americans were in Australia yesterday?
Oh yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Now, granted, I mean, is it nice? No, but I mean,
it's boxing. If you haven't been to a boxing fight, you know that. In all honesty, when you go to a fight, it goes down racial lines and it goes down country lines, and that's the bottom line.
Now, what's worse though? What's worse, booing the national anthem or not even playing it like the way they did to Bivol?
Yeah, that was disrespectful for Bivol. You got to play the guy's national anthem. You got to play it. You know what I mean? And that's it. But that's the way it is in boxing. When you go down there, it goes right down ethnic lines. That's just the bottom line. It goes down. If Italian guys fight, I mean, I've been to a Gaddy fights. I see him. He's fighting someone from a different country. All them Italian guys are all there, and they're ready to brawl with anyone at the end of the fight. It's like a soccer game. It's like these dudes. It's a boxing match. You know how it is. It's people.
No, I get that. I always get for the Puerto Rican, but
I agree. I agree with Jesse. I don't like when they boo the national anthems. I think it's disrespectful.
They shouldn't do it. I don't think they should, but you know they did it. And what were you gonna do? They did it, and that guy got beat for it. So karma came back to him, right? Because they were quiet that whole fight. In the beginning, they were beating that drum. By round 6, you didn't hear nothing.
I don't like when they do that, man. I'll be honest.
And then, I saw somebody on Twitter say, and then let me know if you guys agree with this comment. They said, how are people viewing it a boring fight, right? Haney did what he was supposed to do. To me, it was boring because it wasn't competitive. Right? Yeah, but Haney did a good performance, but it wasn't an entertaining fight. I mean, we just saw somebody get outworked and jabbed for 12 rounds. Haney did his job, but in the sense of entertainment, it's a boring fight.
I will say this. I do agree with you. Like, this is what I go by. And I never go by my personal opinion. I go by people that I know that are casual fans, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like when they're telling me like after like round 8, I just turned the channel, or like it's just yeah, that guy was just beating him up, so I just wasn't interested no more. Or I found the fight boring. I fell asleep, like that. Those are the type of things people tell me, right? But I agree that it's not Haney's fault, like because first of all, if it's not competitive, people like competition. If it's not competitive, what are you going to do, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing is, I still feel like this is just my personal opinion. I don't have a problem with the boxers that do it because they're abiding by what they're allowed to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I still think we got to do something about the holding in boxing. It's
Yeah.
my personal opinion. I don't like it when Klitschko did it. I don't like it when your boy does it, Beeb. I don't like it when Fury does it. Okay. Now, do people pick and choose when they complain about the holding? Yes, they do. Right. The same people complain about Fury. Oh, Fury was holding Wilder. It's cheating. Those same dudes, they don't say anything about it. A fighter, they like doing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. So people are very picky and choosy about the holding. Don't get me wrong. But I do feel we got to do something about it. Like, nobody likes to see it. It would be a more exciting sport if we just didn't. If we made guys like literally not hold. That's my opinion.
It's all tactics, and I think that when you deal with the casual fan, I'm sorry, B, but I know you're coming, but when you deal with the casual fan, they want to see Gaddy Ward. That's what they're looking for. That they don't understand the science of hit and not get hit. So that's boring to them. You have to be a really boxing fan to watch that. It's kind of like when you watch UFC and you see the guys, trying to jiu-jitsu each other on the floor. To the casual fan, that's boring. They're laying on top of each other because you don't realize how hard it is to maneuver down there. You want to see the guy just get knocked out and that's it. So I think that's what it is with casual fans in both sports.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that George Cambosos was also initiating holding? Because it looked to me like he was trying to wrap up that left arm of Devin Haney as well.
He dragged him by his arm. You seen him.
He got into desperation mode a couple times there. Yo, Beeb, I'm about to be out. Yo, can I shout out my boy who's fighting on Saturday?
Of course.
Tyrone Jackpot James, 12-0-0, signed to Joe DeGuardia, fighting at the Paramount this Saturday night. Man, I'm going to be in attendance. It's going to be fun, man. If anybody wants to check out a local boxing fight and lives in Long Island, I recommend it. Thank you, brother.
All right, man. Yeah, I think I'm about to wrap it up. I've been on for almost 4 hours now, man. Yeah, we had Rachel. If you go back, listen, we had Rachel Donaire on. I don't know if you listened. She jumped on.
Man, I hope she's not listening now because I said Donaire's gonna get knocked out.
She jumped. I'm sure she's heard it before. I'm sure that's not the first person who said that to him.
While she was on, I didn't make a prediction because I don't want to. Like I said, I don't want to. I'm kind of rooting for Donaire to win, but I didn't want to kind of like.
That tells me everything. I'm rooting for him to win, but I already know you're having to win.
No, but I don't want to put any negative energy in the air. Like if I know she's got a fight coming up, I don't want to put any negative. I don't want to say any negative things to her or Nonito if they're in my presence. You already know who I told you I think is going to win offline. I've already made my prediction. But while she was on, I didn't want to be disrespectful.
But by the way, we need a petition out here. I do not want to see Kambosos Haney again. It's going to be a waste of time. It's literally holding back the division. If they do that fight again, there's no reason to do it. I want to see. I would rather see Haney fight Loma or Tank.
He's not. I don't think he fights. The only one he's got a chance to fight is Loma. I don't think the Tank their camp. They're not going to give him that fight. I don't think they'll give him the fight. I just don't think that he's got enough. He moves the needle enough. He doesn't draw enough. And Tank's going to be like, listen, I'm the one putting all the fans in the seats. Why should I take this chance with you?
Well, like I said, T, there was already a story out there that Lomachenko's already been asked if he would like to fight the winner of this Kambosos Haney fight. And what needs to be said also is Lou DiBella as well as Bob Arum have options on Devin Haney for his next 2 fights, if I'm not mistaken. So Lou DiBella gets paid no matter who Devin Haney fights. So because he's got options on him too. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe Kambosos is offered some step aside and Lomachenko does slip in the back door and we get a Haney Lomachenko fight.
Yeah, I can see that happening.
I wouldn't be surprised that happened.
It'd be hard to beat Loma right now, especially with the war going on. He's going to be a darling. People,
Yeah.
a lot of it. So if I was him, I wouldn't want to take that fight just for that reason. It'd be hard to get a decision versus him right now.
No,
Not saying it wouldn't be it'll be a close fight, but it's going to be hard with the guy with the war. Now you got to feel for the guy who went to war, left the boxing behind to go fight for his country. The whole world will be behind him and rooting for him. So I wouldn't want that fight right now. He should just take an easy fight, make some little bit of money, and wait a little bit on that. But yes, I agree. The next big fight he'll have will be Loma. He's not going to get Tank. He's not going to get Garcia. He's not going to get any of those guys. And his showing on this fight doesn't give me a lot of confidence that he could beat those guys. And from what I've seen here, it didn't make me think he could beat Tank or make me even think he could beat Shakur Stevenson if he moved up. I don't know if he could beat him because Shakur Stevenson seems to have a little bit more dog in him than he does.
Yeah. All right, T, man. It's always a pleasure. Nice seeing you again, man.
Thanks, man. You got to come on my channel once in a while.
Oh, I'll definitely come on. Let me know next time. Let me know when you need me, man. I'll definitely pop on.
All right, that's what's up, man. Definitely have you.
All right, man. Brother. I'll catch up, man. Be good, bro.
Right,
take care. All right, guys, man. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I will talk to you soon. Bye.